Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. It's Toadstool Sports. I think I said Wednesday yesterday. Obviously, yesterday was Tuesday. I'm out of it every day, man. Today is Wednesday. Whatever. It's all a blur anyway. We got games today, obviously. A lot of afternoon action here. College football, we got some bowls. The playoffs begin tonight. So we'll talk about that.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
So, yeah, there's afternoon NBA. There's afternoon hockey. I'm narrowing it down, man. Again, I'm being selective, and it's not, I'm not here to have fun, even though I like trying to predict things and get them right. But, I like talking about all this shit. The bets that I'm going to have are not fun. That's just what it is. You want to make money, this is what I'm going to recommend, and it is ugly today. It's not fun. It's not the big TV games, you know what I mean? It's find value wherever it is. Yesterday, we were 1-1 for a slight loss, which is unfortunate because it should have been 2-0. We had Illinois in the bowl game. That was a winner, outright winner. Although even with the money line sprinkle on that, it was still a very small loss for me yesterday with the 2 plays. Illinois, that game was starting to piss me off too because they had the game. They did win, so we got it right. They won outright. They covered, obviously. It was a wire-to-wire cover for Illinois as well, I'm pretty sure, except I think they were losing 7-0 early, but after they tied it, then they were never losing by that margin again. They were winning by 10 in the fourth quarter, I believe, and then Tennessee cut it back to 3. Then I'm trying to remember what the sequence of events was, but I remember, Illinois got a field goal to go back up 6. They get held to a field goal. They're up 6, probably about 4 minutes left in the game. It's looking pretty good. Tennessee returned the kickoff for a touchdown to take the lead back by 1. But it's like, come on, man. A kick return touchdown might throw this thing away completely. But no, luckily, Illinois had a long drive after that. They took basically all the rest of the time off the clock just to win the game with a field goal with almost no time left. Very, very good drive by Illinois at the end there. Tennessee, bad defense. They had some of their defenders weren't playing as well, so whatever. I'm happy about it. We got it right. It could have been bad after that kick return touchdown, but Illinois won the game. They had more yards in the game significantly, more yards per play. All the statistics were in favor of Illinois. Then the basketball game, Pacific had almost a wire-to-wire cover in that game. If you were watching what happened in that game, they were not losing by the spread until the final minutes of the game. They were winning the game outright with 10 minutes to go. They were winning by, I think, 4 or 5 points. I don't know how they didn't cover that number. And then I looked, they were behind by exactly 5 with a 5.5 point spread. For me, the line had dropped, actually. When the game tipped off, I think they were only a 4-point dog. So we beat the closing number on that one, too. The money came in on Pacific. So the market agreed with me on that one. But, yeah, even though they were covering for almost the entirety of the game, I don't know what happened. They wound up losing by 9. They probably intentionally fouled, and I know the intentional fouls usually stop at 7. I don't know how they lost by 9, but... yeah, I'm just pissed about it because it was like a wire-to-wire cover. Looked like they might be able to win the game outright in the middle of the second half, and that did not happen. I am pissed. Zach, what's up, man? Yes, I was correct about the Celtics, even though they were losing by 10, like almost immediately in the game. But even at that point, I'm like, whatever. The Celtics are going to win this game with ease. It was a little bit close, I guess. They covered. They won by 10, I think. So, yeah, they covered by 1 or 2 points, whatever it was. I told you, man. I was correct. I know my own team, the Celtics. Also, the spot just kind of screamed Celtics in that game. I mean, it screamed to fade the Jazz. Jeffrey, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Tyson, what's up? Yeah, the Celtics. Yes, thank you. They are my team as well, so I'm happy about that. I'm very unhappy about the state of the Bruins. Dirty Sock, what's up? Happy New Year's Eve. Huge men's bat. No, not really. The men, you should see what Saturdays look like. This is not a very big board. There is college basketball on TV. Fuck Pacific. Kyle, what's up, man? You stayed away from which games? All right, let's get into today. Got to share the screen here. College basketball. Yeah, I mean, I looked at the board. I'm like, this is not big enough for me to do a night game about this. Like, seriously, there are 365 teams. Like, you should see what Saturdays look like once college basketball really gets going. This is basically nothing. We do have some conference play starting today. We have like Atlantic 10 going on here with Loyola Chicago and Rhode Island is the first game up. It's only on ESPN Plus, though, even though it actually might be kind of an interesting game. Loyola Chicago, we know they look down this year. They're also in a bad spot, I think, because they did just beat Santa Clara in their last game. That was a big win for them, man. Santa Clara, solid team, but maybe the letdown won't quite happen because this is still the start of conference play, and they've had whatever it is, 9 days off, 9 days off. So maybe that'll help them get over that. But sometimes you just think about that win the whole time. You know, it's a nice win. I still don't think they're going to overlook Rhode Island, though, knowing that Rhode Island has been decent so far. Rhode Island, they played last Monday. They they didn't do well against Northeastern. Let's just put it that way. Only beating them by 8. They do have George Mason up next, so I don't know if that's a potential look ahead at all, but I doubt that they overlook their first conference game at home after having some time off. This is like the only thing they have to focus on right now. So the move in this game is probably Rhode Island, but the money is signaling otherwise. Rhode Island down from 11 to 9. I think this is a spot where I think the situation is better for Rhode Island, even though that time off could bust that like winning momentum that they have. But I think the numbers guys are kind of coming in here. The numbers guys have been playing Loyola Chicago all year, man, basically thinking that they can't possibly be as bad as what their record looks so far. So I think it's probably numbers guys that are taking Loyola here. 73% of the tickets, 63% of the cash on Rhode Island. I'm not touching the game. Although if you do like Loyola with the points, the total is pretty low at 146.5. I have a slight lean opposite that, but it's not, I don't know. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to talk about every one of these games. That one was somewhat interesting. Blackhawks, Canadians, Penguins. The Kings got absolutely destroyed. I leaned to the Kings yesterday. I thought the Celtics were a stronger play, though. Penguins, I believe, won. I don't know what happened in the other games. Wake Forest, NC State, we get ACC play going on, ESPN2. This is an interesting game, man. Wake Forest, looks like they have the opportunity this year to maybe get into the tournament for the first time in quite a while. NC State is the better team, though. There's no question about that. But Wake Forest, they're kind of like the bastard cousin, whatever you want to call it. Like they're like the, they're yeah. What else can I say about it? They're the one of the big North Carolina schools that kind of gets left out, right? Because you got Duke, UNC, NC State, a little bit behind those two teams, and then Wake Forest is not even considered to be in that like trio. You know what I mean? And they're, I believe, further west in North Carolina as well. So they usually try to step up their game for these games against the other North Carolina schools because they consider themselves to be the little brother or, yeah, whatever you want to call it, the cousin. NC State in this game, you could argue they're in the worst spot here because they went into the break beating an SEC team, Ole Miss, even though Ole Miss is down this year. Maybe that break will disrupt their momentum a little bit. I don't totally see them overlooking their first ACC game, but they do play Virginia next, and that maybe is cause for a look ahead because that is a big game against a ranked Virginia team that looks like they're on the rise again and looking like a good Virginia team again. Wake Forest went into the break getting smashed by Vandy. Vandy, I mean, they're a good team, although you shouldn't really lose by 31 to anybody, really. But it is what it is. That's how they went into the break. So I think there's more of an opportunity for a bounce-back spot for Wake here. So my handicap on this, I would lean towards taking the points with Wake Forest if I was going to play this game. NC State is a 10-point favorite. 64% of the tickets are on them. 56% of the cash on Wake. So the money seems to agree with me on that one. That would be my lean in that game. Duke basketball and football on TV. Well, yeah, Duke is in the Sun Bowl today in football, which is kind of an interesting game. It's a weird matchup. I'm going to talk about it. And then obviously their basketball team will be on TV. I mean, it's their conference home opener today. And yeah, it's a game against a very weak opponent. Georgia Tech. Garrett, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Your North Carolina Tar Heels won yesterday. I think they might have missed the cover by like 1 point. What other games that I want to talk about here? The SoCon is starting today. Southland, American, these are all getting underway here. Patriot League is underway. If you want me to talk about any of these games, I will, but I don't have much of a feel for many of these. Loyola, Maryland at American. I kind of looked at this one. Loyola, Maryland, they played George Mason pretty well in their last game, and I think I used that as part of the George Mason handicap the other day, even though I lost that play. But Loyola, Maryland played pretty tough in that game against a fairly good George Mason team, so Loyola was a big underdog in that game. We're talking about all the Loyolas today, man. Coming off of that, could be a bit of a hangover spot for them, man. And they are not coming out of the break because I think that was their first game out of the break. They played George Mason, which was... Oh, no, I'm wrong. That was before the break. My mistake. So they have had the break to kind of get over that. But I don't know, man. To me, I would play American in this game or pass the game. American, they went into the break losing to two good Virginia schools, man. They made the Virginia trip. They lost to VCU, Virginia. VCU is probably still the best team in the A-10. And Virginia, I mean, they're solid, like I said. So American, you knew they weren't going to win those games, but maybe it's an opportunity to just halt that losing momentum. So if I was going to play this game, I would lay the points with American. We're being American today on New Year's Eve, man. American's a 9-point favorite in that one. Total's kind of in the mid-range there. That would be my lean in that one. Garrett, what's up, man? Oh, Illinois, yes. Correct. Caleb Wilson rebounds. Caleb Wilson sounds like an NFL quarterback. It's some mix between Caleb Williams and Russell Wilson. What are we talking about right now? Caleb Wilson, all right. Hit a rebounds prop. You did solid, hell yeah. A couple dollars. I thought that said Dallas for a minute. You met a couple in Dallas, all right. I don't want to know what you did with those people. All right, yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to skip some of these games. You want me to talk about them? I guess I can. South Alabama is at Louisiana. The Sun Belt is already underway. South Alabama, they beat what I assume is Mobile, Alabama, another Southern Alabama team here. Non-Division I team going into the break, I guess. Was this before the Christmas break? This is the other thing. You got to see like which of these teams have played since the break. So I guess they did. This was after the break. So that's actually a good thing for South Alabama. They get to just have like a tune-up. They get some momentum back. However, I do think this is a look-ahead spot because they have other Alabama school, Troy, up next. And Troy is one of the, I think they're still kind of one of the better teams in the Sun Belt right now. They've been decent in football and in basketball over the last few years. So could be a bit of a look ahead. It's an in-state sibling game there. And they're playing Louisiana here. Louisiana's awful. So definitely a team they might overlook. Louisiana did just beat Norfolk State, though. That is a nice win. Norfolk State, they're not great. I mean, they're not in a really good conference. Obviously, they're in the MEAC, but they're basically the class of the MEAC. That was still a nice win for Louisiana coming out of the break. So I don't know if it's really going to put them in a letdown spot or anything like that. If they can, I think they'll still try to get up for this game against South Alabama. They do, interestingly, have a revenge game already against Southern Miss. They're already playing Southern Miss, a conference foe, for the second time. Probably the earliest second conference matchup in all of Division I coming up on January 3rd in that game. Very weird game, but maybe I'll talk about it then because I have my way of handicapping the second conference matchups, although it's very similar to how I do divisional NFL, like the second of a divisional matchup. It's similar to that. Basically involves zigzagging potentially. So I don't think they're going to overlook South Alabama, though. Like if I was going to play this game, I would probably take the points with Louisiana. I know it's ugly, really ugly. Oh, they still call them UL Lafayette here. South Alabama looks like they're taking the money, though. They're up to 3.5, 93% of the tickets on them. Cash on them, 59% of the tickets on Louisiana Lafayette. So the money seems to not agree with me on that one. But again, these are like really weak opinions of mine here. Mr. Pinsey, what's up? Good morning. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, Charles, what's up, man? All right. Charles, thanks for hanging out with Losercast last night, by the way. We had some fun. I thought there was too much political talk. That we had to let Tyler in. That's why I had to demand that Tyler get in, man, and break up that. We had to jar the show in some way back into comedy mode. We have an interesting game here, Virginia Tech, man, on ACC Network at 2 p.m. This is a big game, usually for both teams, although Virginia Tech, they played the little brother role here against Virginia, man. That's the way it is. Virginia, usually the better team in Virginia. They are again right now. They have been for a while. So I think Virginia Tech might be a little bit extra motivated in this one. Virginia, I'm not going to say Virginia is going to overlook this game, though. But I believe Virginia hasn't played since before the break. Yeah, they went into the break on a 6-game win streak. So again, I don't like when teams have a break when they're on a roll because it can hurt their momentum. They do have an ESPN2 game next against NC State. NC State has been in and out of the rankings, so is that going to be a look ahead? I don't know, because Virginia Tech does have a good record, and this is still a rivalry game, but I just think that little extra momentum for Virginia Tech might put them over the hump here. However, I will tell you right now, Virginia Tech's not as good as their record looks. They're at 11-2. They haven't faced that difficult of a schedule, and both times that they stepped up in class, they didn't do that well. They lost to St. Mary's and VCU, both on a neutral. Those are the best two teams that played so far. Actually, South Carolina, never mind, I forgot they had this game in here. That was a good win on the road at South Carolina. South Carolina, I mean, they're somewhere towards the bottom of the SEC, but the SEC is strong. South Carolina's not that bad. So that was actually a good win. That was an upset win. But I do expect them to pull out all the stops here, man. And yes, they're coming out of the break as well. They also went into the break on a win streak, 5-game win streak. So again, I worry about that a little bit, that they went into the break on a roll. But you could argue they didn't, because their last game before going into the break, they might have already been looking ahead because they almost got caught by Elon. Elon Musk almost removed their Twitter account. They almost lost to Elon at home. That is not good, man. You know Virginia Tech was a big favorite in that one, and they had to go into overtime to beat Elon. So I think they were probably looking ahead. I think that is going to shock them into some sort of focus here. You're asking Virginia, a slow-paced team, to lay points on the road. If I was going to play this game, I would have to take the points with Virginia Tech. Virginia, it looks like the money is disagreeing with me again on this one, though. Virginia's up from 3.5 to 5. 90% of the tickets and 79% of the cash on Virginia Tech, though. I don't really get why Virginia Tech would be a public side here. I know their record looks pretty good, but Virginia's a one-loss team. Virginia's a ranked team, so I don't really understand why the public would be actually on Virginia Tech here. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know if this market is going to shift around by the time the game tips off. We do have a total that's kind of in the mid-range here, which is because Virginia plays really slow, but Virginia Tech plays faster, so it's a style contrast here as well. I believe they do. Where's Virginia Tech here? Ken Palm's got Virginia in the top 25, of course. He has Virginia Tech in the 60s. Virginia Tech, I mean, he only has them as kind of a mid-tempo team, though. He does have them as one of the luckier teams, though. But still, that's the way I would play it if I was going to play it at all. Not a whole lot else to say about that, but Virginia Tech's going to try to speed the game up. You know, with Virginia being a slow-paced team, I don't want to lay points with them on the road usually, even though it's not that many points. Charles, what's up? Hilarious. Yes, that's right. Well, thank you. All right. Virginia's speeding up their pace. That's right. Tony Bennett is not there anymore, but I mean, Virginia used to be just exorbitantly slow, but I still think they're a slow-paced team, man. Ken Palm has them at 251 in tempo. I mean, that is slow. That's they're in the bottom third in tempo, so they're still a slow-paced team. St. Bonaventure at VCU is an interesting game. This is the A10 play getting started here. Bonaventure, they're pretty good, but they're not really as good as their record looks. This is one where people are going to look at it and see Bonaventure's 11-2, VCU's 9-4. Yet VCU's a 9.5-point favorite here, so the public is probably going to want to take the points here. Oh my God, I'm getting the team with the better record, getting all these points here. Like, it looks way too easy to take the points here, I think. So it's one of those lines that just kind of stinks, like it doesn't smell right, which would lead me to believe that VCU must be the right side here because the odds makers are just telling you they're the better team. They must have faced a more difficult schedule because they have more losses. And indeed they have. I mean, their losses are to Utah State, who's probably the best team in the Mountain West. So that was a 3-point loss. They lost to NC State by 6. Not really any shame in that on the road. They lost to Vandy. Vandy's probably actually the best team in the SEC. And they lost a close game to New Mexico by 3. I mean, not the greatest result there, but New Mexico's okay. So, again, they face a more difficult schedule than the Bonnies have. I would lay it if I was going to play it in this one. It seems like VCU is also speeding up their tempo again after I'm used to them being a slow-paced team over the last couple of years. That's not the case now, though. Both teams are going to show up for this game, so usually when that's the case, you also do want to look towards the better team. Both teams are coming off easy wins. Doesn't really matter. So I would lay it with VCU if I was going to play it in this one, although I believe VCU, you could argue they might have a little bit of a look ahead here. Actually, no, not really. They have Duquesne, then they play St. Louis. St. Louis, that's going to be a really interesting game to see, man, because those two teams are the top two teams in the A10, man, and I think that if one of them wins the A10, which probably should be the case, the other one should also get into the tournament, in my opinion, although we haven't seen what they're going to do in conference play yet. But Ken Palm has them both in the top 50 right now, so I think they both should get in as it stands right now. But that game's going to be interesting. But yes, I would lay it with VCU in this one. And it looks like the money is starting to agree with me. It looks like Bonaventure is setting up as a public dog. 89% of the tickets, 78% of the cash on Bonaventure. VCU down from 10.5 to 9.5 here. But yeah, again, I would lay it. It looks like the money's starting to kind of align with me on that one. You take the points. Yeah, I'm disagreeing with you on that one. Not my strongest opinion, but yeah, we're going to disagree. I usually get super stubborn, especially when it involves my stronger opinions and my teams like the Celtics. I'm not going to beat you up too much on that one, but I definitely disagree with you on that one. Again, like Bonaventure looks like a very square side to me in that game. Okay, what other games we got going on here? Games that are maybe of note here. I'm going to give you my best bet here. Why not? A lot of these games are just not that interesting. I mean, again, shout it out and I'll talk about it, but we got to get through all these other sports here today too. I told you how ugly this is going to be, and this is going to be ugly. We're going to be on one of the worst teams in college basketball, Gardner-Webb, plus 10.5 here. They did cover for me barely the other time I played them this year. We're getting them at home here, but we're fading Charleston Southern. Charleston Southern is also not a great team. They're like a bottom third team. I know Gardner-Webb is like a bottom 10 team in Ken Baum's rankings. They're absolutely atrocious on both sides of the ball. I understand that. But the spot that Charleston Southern is in dictates what we're going to do here. Charleston Southern already played out of the break. They played on Sunday, and they upset Richmond on the road, an A-10 team, Richmond. Big win, man. Richmond, I think, was probably double-digit favorites in that game. Charleston Southern able to get the win there. Big upset win for them. Digging into the box score, I didn't see a whole lot here as far as like the box score, except that Richmond had a really bad shooting game, which was somewhat of the reason why it happened. Richmond 34% from the field. Yeah, Charleston Southern did actually outplay them in a lot of ways. They out-rebounded them. So that does worry me a little bit, but I think they're going to be in a letdown spot coming off that upset. It was 3 days ago. It's another road game here. I know it's the start of conference play, but how excited do you get for this awful Gardner-Webb team when up next you have the three teams that have really been near the top of the conference every year the last few years? Asheville, Winthrop, and High Point are their next three opponents. Those are all bigger games, man, even though Asheville is actually pretty down this year, it looks like. But Gardner-Webb is, again, they're a complete doormat, so I think this is a sandwich spot. I think all three of these upcoming games are bigger than this one. And for Gardner-Webb, they actually have not played out of the break yet, so they're going to be the way more rested team, and I think the rest should be helpful because they went into the break on a bad note. They lost to Tennessee. Tennessee's a good team. They got blown out, of course. What else? As expected. Gardner-Webb, of course, their only 2 wins on the season are against non-Division I teams. I know they're bad. We don't need them to win here, though. We only need them to come within double digits in this one. It's their home conference opener. They're the more rested team. They could shed some of that negative energy or whatever, having that break there. So even though sometimes I'll like the less rusty team if they did just play a game, but not in this case, man. I think Charleston Southern is in a letdown spot, and that's what we're going to do here. We will take the more rested Gardner-Webb team here. You can get 11 on this right now. It looks like the cash is disagreeing with me on this right now. 98% of the cash on Charleston Southern. They're minus 11 right now. 69% of tickets on Gardner-Webb. I doubt it. I don't think the public is playing Gardner-Webb in this game. I don't think the public is playing this game at all, really, when there's football, NBA, all this other stuff going on. This is not going to be on their radar. And yes, it is a high total. Both teams play at a fast tempo, so I know I don't love taking points necessarily when it's a high total, although we did it in the bowl game yesterday. But we're going to do it again in that one. Yeah, it's crazy ugly, but that's what we're going to do. Sam Bennett over his shots. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Bennett. After watching the Bruins lose to the Florida Panthers multiple times in the playoffs. ACC continues with Clemson at Syracuse on ESPN2. Clemson, they're coming off that game where they were dominating Cincinnati. I think that was before the break. I talked about this game in that Cincinnati handicap the other day, which I lost on. Our college basketball has gone cold, man. I apologize because we were on fire in college basketball for a while. And college basketball is high volume, so I don't want to, throw it all away. But I'm trying to just keep doing what I usually do, man. But for Clemson here, they were demolishing Cincinnati in that game. They were winning by 27, I believe, really early in the game. It was like, I think I had the game on over here, and it was like, it was like 33-6 or something. And I like did a double take. I'm like, that can't be right. Then I'm like, holy crap, Clemson's going to run away with that game. And then I saw the final, and I'm like, what happened? Because they wound up only winning by 3, but Clemson was much, much better in that game. They wound up having to escape against a pretty weak Cincinnati team. Clemson was a big favorite in that game, so I actually see Clemson maybe bouncing back here, even though they're having to go up to Syracuse, which I know it's not fun. These ACC teams from the South don't love going up here. You know, you got to travel up into the cold weather, but at least these are indoor games here. Syracuse, they're not really as good as their record looks at 9-4. They've been pretty poor in stepping up in class. Like, most of their wins are against really bad teams, except a win for us on the show that we had when they beat Tennessee. But we took Syracuse in that game because Tennessee was in a horrific spot in that game. It was a letdown spot. I think it was a sandwich spot. I think it was a weird travel spot, first true road game as well after Tennessee had played in the Vegas thing. But whatever. Syracuse, they're not as good as their record looks. They just beat Stonehill, whatever. Yeah, it's their conference home opener. Yeah, they're going to get up for a game against Clemson. A lot of orange in this game, by the way, between these two teams. But the money is coming on Syracuse, which is odd to me. They've flipped from a 2-point dog to a 1-point favorite here. I expected Clemson to be a favorite in this game, so I don't know what's going on with this line. My opinion on this game would be that I would lean towards Clemson with both teams, I think, showing up in this game. So I would lean towards the better team, and you're getting points now. But there's just something weird going on here where I kind of think Clemson would be the public side as well in this game. They have 74% of the tickets, 70% of the cash on them. So the market read looks pretty strong on Syracuse here. So, again, I don't really totally understand it. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, take that for what you want to, I guess, but I've not been impressed with Syracuse's resume so far. Yeah, they've played some good teams. Both teams have played a reasonably difficult schedule so far, but Syracuse has lost all of those games except the Tennessee one, and that was explainable because how bad the spot was for Tennessee. You're a big ACC fan. Maybe the ACC is improving again here after they've been a pretty bad conference the last couple of years, man. NJIT in Pennsylvania. I looked at this game. Pennsylvania, they played pretty tough against both Rutgers and George Mason in their last two games. Those were big performances out of Penn, man. That was a loss for us on George Mason because I did not think Penn was going to keep up an effort 2 games in a row like that, although I think the Christmas break came between those 2 games. Yep, I made a mistake on that one, although George Mason had a horrible shooting game in that one. Penn does have the Ivy League starting next with Princeton, although Princeton is way down this year, but I don't think they're going to pay much attention to NJIT here, man, so I do think this does look like a sandwich spot. If I was going to play it, I would fade Penn here. NJIT just broke a losing streak with a win over New York, Canton, SU, State University of New York, Canton, SUNY Canton, the Roos, another team called the Roos. Hey, it's not just Kansas City, because, you know, we have all these kangaroos in New York and in Kansas City. But yes, I would lean to NJIT if I was going to play this one. It's a low total. You're getting 14.5 points, which seems like kind of a lot to lay for a team that's not that great, like Penn. Although I know, you know, NJIT is a really bad team. I get it. But, yeah, I would take the points there if I was going to play that game, I should say. George Mason, yeah, they're all right. I mean, they were in the conference final last year, and it was fairly close against VCU. They're probably they're in the top 4 or 5 A-10 teams, but they're definitely not on the level of VCU and St. Louis. Those two teams are far and away the best 2 teams in that conference. What else we got here? Charleston and Elon. I mean, these teams are both. Is Elon in South Carolina or North Carolina? I always forget. So, you know, if they were in South Carolina, they might get up a little bit more for Charleston. I don't know, but I was going to talk about how Elon almost pulled off that upset against Virginia Tech, but they played 2 games since then. They beat Northeastern in their last game, which is, you know, not an impressive win, but whatever. Charleston coming off a win over Drexel. I don't know why I'm talking about this game. I think it was because I thought Elon was coming off the Virginia Tech game. I don't really have an opinion on this game, but it's, yeah, whatever. Maybe somebody could throw an Elon joke in here or whatever. Yeah, no opinion on this game really, though. And, of course, I just closed my pregame tab. That's great. Elon's a 3.5-point favorite in this one. It looks like they're taking the money, 90% of the tickets, 96% of the cash. If you want to do with that information, anything. The public is not getting involved in that game, though, so I think it is probably actual money on Elon in that one. It's in North Carolina. It's gay. I mean, it sounds like a very preppy school. It sounds like a bunch of rich kids go there. That would be my guess. Ooh, we go to Elon. Yeah, okay. Their team's name is the Phoenix. Yeah, I don't know. There's something kind of lame about that to me. All right, what other games did I want to even mention here? I don't know. There aren't really that many other games I was going to talk about. I'll talk about your ACC game here, Georgia Tech and Duke. Duke just took their first loss, man, although I think it was going into the Christmas break. But I talk about this. When teams take their first loss, or if they'd gone into the break on their huge win streak, either one I think is disruptive to their momentum. So I think it is a momentum stopper. So I think Duke might come out of the gate a little bit slow in this game. So I kind of lean to Georgia Tech in this one, but especially like early in the game, maybe a first half play on Georgia Tech or something like that, because I think Duke might start slow. Georgia Tech, I believe they haven't played since the break either, but I could be wrong about that. Let me see. No, they played on Sunday, actually, so they got kind of a tune-up against Florida A&M. Duke, I believe, still hasn't played since the break. So, yeah, Duke is technically more rested here, but I think it's actually better that Georgia Tech came out of the break and played again and won against an easy opponent, Florida A&M. So I do like Georgia Tech plus the points in this one. Duke is laying a lot of points. Again, they don't really need style points here. The money is disagreeing with me yet again, though. Duke is up to 27.5 here. 83% of the cash on Duke, 80% of the tickets on Georgia Tech. That makes no sense to me. The public is not playing Georgia Tech in this game, man. Yeah, I don't really understand those numbers there. I don't think those numbers are accurate. Duke also plays fairly slow. So, again, you're asking them to cover a big number as a slow-paced team. I would take the points if I was going to do it. And, again, first half makes sense to me as well. Yeah, Garrett, I disagree with that. I mean, they can win by 20 and not cover. So what do you mean by smash? Hey, Eton is where James Bond went, man. James Bond is a Casanova. But no, this looks like one of those spots where Duke is not going to be at their best. And then I don't know, who does Duke play after this? I looked earlier, Florida State, not really a huge game there, but yeah, I mean, I would take the points with Georgia Tech if I was going to play that one. St. Joe's and St. Louis here. St. Louis, I think they're second best in the A-10 to VCU. I think Ken Baum, actually has those two teams flipped, but he has them close. St. Joe's is coming off a really easy win over Principia. Principia College, Principia. I don't know why ESPN has it that way, but St. Louis has a weird scheduling spot here where they play St. Joe's, then they don't play again for a week, and then they have their huge game against VCU, so maybe it is a little bit of a look ahead here for them. Maybe they overlook St. Joe's a little bit here. St. Joe's coming off a win over Arcadia, I assume is who this is. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I could see St. Louis maybe not being totally up to their best in this game. They're laying 21.5 points here. I mean, yes, they are quite good this year, but I would probably lean towards taking the points in that one if I was going to play it. You had Notre Dame. Did they play yesterday? I don't even know. Notre Dame money line. Wait. Notre Dame was probably a big favorite, right? I don't know. Wait, what are we even talking about? Did Georgia Tech? Wait, what? I don't know what we're talking about here. All right, we got George Washington and Richmond. Richmond I already talked about because they just lost to Charleston Southern, so they're in bounce back mode, man. Because when a team loses a big favorite like that, usually it's because they were looking ahead or something like that. This is their conference home opener, I believe. They're going to show up for this game. George Washington has been pretty decent in this conference as well, although they were one of those teams that looked good early in the season last year because they played an easy schedule, and then they started to fade as conference play began. Could be a similar situation here, although they played decently against Florida, and that was a win for us on the show. But Florida was in a bad spot in that one, which is why we had a George Washington play in that one. George Washington did play, I believe, one game out of the break. They had kind of a tune-up against, some non-Division I team here. No, my mistake. That was before the break. But they didn't really have that much momentum to stop. However, Richmond, I think they did play that one game out of the break, right? And they didn't play well. So I prefer Richmond to this game because they got that game out of the way. They're going to be in a huge bounce-back mode here. I would lean towards Richmond in this one. And the money is disagreeing with me yet again, with George Washington being a 3-point road favorite. 71% of tickets, 85% of the cash on them. I will say that Richmond having the better record and being a home dog does make it look too easy to take the points with Richmond. But in this situation, I think it's better to take Richmond. Again, I don't like teams that are coming off these huge layoffs unless it broke like a huge amount of losing momentum or something like that. And I do like to be on teams that just lost as big favorites. So that would put me on Richmond in that game. Stanford. Oh, yeah, that's right. Notre Dame went to Stanford, right? Yeah, correct. Notre Dame, what was the game that Notre Dame was coming off of, though? I don't know. Notre Dame won that game outright. I don't think I thought Notre Dame was going to win that game, if I remember correctly. I don't remember. The under, yeah, I have no, wow. What was the score in that game? I don't do a whole lot with totals, so Notre Dame, I think, does play a slow pace, though. Yeah, what did Notre Dame do in that game? I'm pretty sure that I liked Notre Dame in that game because they were coming off that ugly loss to IPFW. Yeah. 47-40. That's ridiculous. But, sometimes it does make sense to play unders if both teams had huge layoffs. I don't want to give away all of Ken Baum's secrets, but Stanford was actually in a decent spot as well because they had played pretty poorly against Northridge the game before that. So both teams were in bounce back mode in that game. But because both teams are kind of in focus spots, that is kind of an under situation, I would say. And with one team not having played for over a week, that also affects the offense. So when both teams have had a huge layoff, I think unders make sense in situations like that as well. All right. North Texas is playing Memphis on ESPN2. We don't have too many games left on this board here. Too much college basketball, man. This is a game that I believe is going to be a contrast of styles. North Texas still plays really slow. Memphis definitely on the faster side. Memphis has faced a really difficult schedule, 9th in the country, according to Ken Baum. 327th in luck, so Memphis has underperformed so far, even though I don't think they're that good, but at 5-7, they're definitely better than that record makes them look. People probably won't want them because of their record. North Texas coming off some easy win over some non-Division I team. Don't remember if that was before the break or not. Memphis also easy win over Alabama State in their last game. You might be getting some value with Memphis here, though, just because I think believe it or not, they're an underrated commodity right now. And people are going to see this. How is Memphis laying 10.5 double digits against a North Texas team that has a way better record, right? Like, it almost looks way too easy to take North Texas. I would probably lay the points and hope Memphis speeds the game up, although the odds makers are kind of telling you that's not going to happen with the total in the 130s, although the over seems to have gotten some play. But I think if you like Memphis, you probably like this game to go over that total, although I usually don't like playing over with low totals because usually I think it's over for a reason. It's low for a reason. Money looks like it's coming into North Texas, but I just don't quite agree with it. 64% of tickets, 90% of the cash on North Texas. Again, I think Memphis, the fact that they're laying double digits here as a below 500 team, something looks really, really off about that line. So the odds makers are kind of telling you what you need to know in that game. Okay, we got Kansas City at Denver. I think Denver could be in a bit of a letdown spot here, or hangover spot. I mean, Denver pulled off that upset of Northern Colorado. Win for us on the show on that one. They did not suffer a letdown after that. And they went to Tulsa, who's been pretty good this year, and they took Tulsa almost to the wire. Although, actually, I think the game wasn't as close as it looked, actually. I think Denver, actually, maybe I'm wrong about that. Let me see. Yeah, Denver kind of made a run late in the game to make it cosmetic, but that was still a big game. They still only lost by 5. They got St. Thomas next. The Tommies are like probably the best team in the Summit. So that is probably a look-ahead spot. Kansas City, total doormat. I know they're really, really ugly, but if I was going to play this game, I would take the points with Kansas City. They just got a nice tune-up win, let's say, against a non-Division I team, so at least there's that. They have a little bit of momentum here. Denver's laying double digits here. I know this is going to be a game that I think is a contrast of styles. Denver does like to play fast, and the total is somewhat high. Kansas City, actually, they play fast as well. Never mind. I thought they were a slower-paced team. They're not. So I think both teams play fast here. So, I don't know. Do with all of that information what you want to, but I think the spot is bad for Denver in that one. I would play Kansas City. I talked about that game. I stayed off of that game because I thought both teams were in bounce-back spots, and I didn't trust Notre Dame going to the Pacific Coast either. So, yeah, I mean, I gave you my analysis on that game. I just didn't have a strong opinion on it. Normally, I would have liked Notre Dame a lot coming off of an ugly loss to IPFW like that, but there were just reasons why I could not get involved with that. The Roos, yeah, they're bad. That's true. I don't know. I make fun of the Roos from time to time because their name is pretty lame. Yukon and Xavier are playing on Peacock if you want this Big East game here, which is not necessarily a great game, although maybe it'll be closer than people think. Yukon hasn't played that many games on the road yet, although they've been fine when they have done it. They won at Kansas, at Allen Fieldhouse, which is not that easy to do. Then they did win at DePaul in their last game, although who cares? DePaul is the doormat, almost a literal doormat in the Big East. Now, Xavier is a step up from that, although I'm not impressed by Xavier this year. I think Xavier's bad this year. I think they're down. I believe they have Richard Pitino, I think, is their coach now. Am I right about that?
Yeah, inside, I want to kill myself.
Not Rick Pitino, but his son, Richard Pitino, I think is at Xavier now. I don't think he's a good coach. I don't know, man. I mean, he's had some of his teams get to the tournament and whatever, but yeah, I don't know. I don't trust Xavier. It's not really that bad of a spot for Yukon here, but Xavier, I mean, I don't know. Xavier's coming off beating Georgetown on the road. That was an all right win. I assume they were actually probably a dog in this game. Yeah. So Xavier did just pull off an upset of Georgetown. This game's hard for me to read, man. The money is saying to take the points with Xavier. Connecticut is obviously going to be a public side. 75% of tickets, 63% of the cash on them. Xavier is in Cincinnati, by the way, for people that don't know. Connecticut down from 13.5 to 12 here. I don't love the idea of laying huge points on the road with Yukon usually just because they're a slow-paced team. So if they're going to control the pace, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to cover a number like that. I definitely don't trust Xavier either, though. So this game is a stay away from me. The money is saying to take the points with Xavier for what it's worth, but I don't love it by any means. Another Big East game that's maybe worse, DePaul at Villanova, although this game might actually be closer than people think as well. DePaul, they're coming off that loss to Yukon, whatever, that was expected. I think they'll show up for a game against Villanova. Villanova might, on the other hand, overlook DePaul because we all know DePaul's not that good. Villanova's on a nice run of games here, man, where they upset Wisconsin. They went on the road. They beat Seton Hall. That was Villanova's conference opener as well. Pulled off an upset over a decent Seton Hall team this year. Nice win for Villanova. I think they might have been a small underdog in this game, I would guess. They might have been a small favorite. I don't know. It's hard to gauge when ESPN had the prediction at about 50-50 there. But Villanova also plays Butler and Creighton up after this. Like, basically, every Big East game is going to be bigger than a game against DePaul. So it is definitely possible they overlooked DePaul. You could make the argument this is a sandwich. Villanova plays ugly. They play slow, although they actually have an efficient offense. So Villanova is one of those teams where they find really good shots. They play this half-court style, but they score on a lot of their possessions, but they still play slow, so they play low-scoring games, which does make it more difficult to cover as a favorite. They're a 12.5-point favorite here, down from 13.5. Totals in the 130s. Really, really low. I would lean to taking the points with DePaul in that game, but it's not something that I love. Yep, Chip Kelly's going to be the OC at Northwestern now. He's a pretty good OC. He's not a good head coach. It's the way that it is. Didn't succeed in the NFL, I believe, when he was briefly there. Xavier McDaniel, what about him? To shave my head, I have two different razors that I have a razor for everything, man. I have a face razor. I have a body razor from Manscaped, the lawnmower. I've got two different head razors. I've got a nostril groomer that also works for like your ears and whatever. For the head, I use mostly I use the Skull Shaver Pitbull Pro or whatever it's called. It's a skull shaver. It doesn't quite get that close, but it's way quicker. You just, rub it over your head. It doesn't take that long. But I do also have the Manscaped, their head razor. It's actually better, but it's way more expensive. It's the Dome Shaver, I think is what they call it. It's not a very good name for their head razor, but it's really, really good. It works really well, so I use both of those. The Skull Shaver has one problem with it, though. It's that so it's pretty easy to clean. Both of those razors are easy to clean. But the Skull Shaver one, when you take like the part out, like inside the head that has all the blades in it or whatever, the thing that like locks the blades in place, it twists on and off, and the plastic piece that it like locks onto breaks all the time. And you can buy the heads, but I think they do it on purpose, that you have to buy more heads. The heads are not that expensive. They're probably like $15, but still, like, it kind of pisses me off when it breaks. So, yes, Manscaped, sponsor me. Yes. Manscaped, I got a lot of them. I have Nadeau, but dude, you can't shave your head with Nadeau. You can't do it. I'm not going to straight razor my head. Although I've had a barber do it before, though. I've had a barber shave my head all the way down for my Dr. Evil Halloween costume. And it was announced that Whitey Bulger died while I was there at a barbershop in Boston. It was one of the most Bostonian experiences ever. Yo, Whitey died, kid, yo. So that, shout out to Big Jim, I think was his name, my barber that I had for that head shaving experience there. He was ironically named Big Jim because he was just an average sized dude, but he's Big Jim for whatever reason. Chip Kelly was awful with the Eagles, correct? Zach, what's up, man? How old when I started tapping? What does that mean? I think it's called the Dome Shaver. I forget. Oh, how old was I? Dude, I have thick hair everywhere except right here. It thinned in the front, so I had no choice but to just start shaving it all off because it looks horrible otherwise if you don't do that. And I'm pissed because my mom's dad had hair up until he died. My mom's oldest brother looks like their father, and he has a full head of hair, and he's in his 70s. They got good hair. The Italian side, I thought I was going to get that, but instead, I got some of the genes from my dad's side where all the baldness is. So it sucks. It is what it is. But I was, dude, it was bad too because I didn't go bald early. Like some of the guys on my dad's side go bald really early. Like my cousin that I just saw on Christmas Eve, I think he's in his 50s now, but he looks good, man. Like you can't tell how old he is. He shaves his head. He went bald probably at about 18, and he's just shaved his head since then. And he looks good bald, so good for him. Pretty good looking guy, to be honest. But yeah, whatever. So I went bald, like I didn't go bald. I'm not bald, but I shaved my head bald. But the thinning on, in the front here happened in my early 30s. So yeah, I don't know. It sucks because you go that long, you have really thick hair for this whole time, and then that happens. It's pretty bad. Vic from the Shield. No, the spray paint looks horrible. The only option is to shave your head. It doesn't look that bad. I don't look that bad bald. At least I have, I have a round head, I have a normal shaped head, not an abnormal head. So there you go. And then we do have one more Big East game, although I will talk about Drexel and Wilmington for a minute as well. UNC Wilmington's coming off that game where they didn't play well against NCAAT. Wilmington was a big favorite there. I think they show up with more focus after a bad game like that. They don't really have anything on deck here. Wilmington is the best team in this conference, and I think they're going to want to show up with some intensity in this one. Drexel just lost to Charleston. Charleston's not an easy team to beat on the road, really, especially for a team like Drexel that's not that good. I think Drexel must have been a dog in that game. Now, second straight road game for them. They'll try to get up for it because they know Wilmington's good, but I would lay the points with Wilmington if I was going to play it. They're up to 12.5, 75% of tickets, 90% of the cash on Wilmington, but the total is low at 138, so makes it a little bit more less tempting to lay the points. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm a sex symbol. I don't know. I have a Twitter harem of women at least. Yeah. All right. And then, yes. Thank you, Kyle. Yes. Last game up is another Big East game with St. John's at Georgetown. And the public might be no longer on St. John's, by the way. St. John's.
Yeah, inside, I want to kill myself.
St. John's not doing too well right now at 8-4. Georgetown 9-4. I think people are going to see this line and see St. John's favored by 8-9 points in that range and think that it makes sense to take the points with Georgetown at home. But the odds makers are telling you, again, they're telling you all you need to know. They're telling you that St. John's is the better team. The line looks really fishy for them to be favored by that much on the road. But they've faced a difficult schedule so far. I know last year they only had 2 regular season losses. This year they haven't stepped up particularly well in class, but I mean their losses have been respectable though. They lost by 7 to Alabama. They lost by 1 to Iowa State. Iowa State's really good. They lost by 11 to Auburn. That's not horrible. Kentucky is underrated right now in my opinion. They lost to them as well. And that was a spot that was, I believe, closer to Kentucky. I think I liked Kentucky in that game, if I recall. So I think St. John's shows up in this game. They're coming off an easy bounce-back blowout win over Harvard. I think they're going to show up for this one, man. Georgetown, yeah, it's a big game for them as well at home. They're going to try to show up for this game against St. John's. They're coming off a win over Coppin State. Easy win there. Both teams will show up, in my opinion. And I just think it looks too easy to play Georgetown here, even though it looks like maybe some of the public money is on St. John's as well, but it looks like the real money also is, at least for now. I would lay it if I was going to play it. St. John's down from 9.5 to 9 here. 82% of tickets, 93% of the cash on St. John's here. Mark Lawrence, I forget what that guy looks like. I like his analysis on especially football, but I've been disagreeing with him a decent amount recently. All right, let's go to NHL. We got a bunch of afternoon stuff going on here, man. I got to get this stuff done. College bowls start at 12 as well, and I got to make sure my bowl entry is done. 12:30 Eastern, we got the Rangers at Washington. This is an interesting game. Rangers, we know they're good on the road, so they are on the road here. I might lean against the Rangers here, though. The Rangers are coming off an overtime loss to Carolina on Monday. That was a huge game. Taking Carolina to overtime like that takes a lot out of you. And even though Washington's good, you could argue they're going to overlook Washington here because they did just beat Washington in this same arena at Washington and embarrass them 7-3 back on last Tuesday. So it's fresh in mind. So it's going to be one of those potential zigzag spots where Washington's going to adjust to what happened. And the Rangers might be looking ahead because they're playing in the Winter Classic on Friday against Florida. So I think it is a spot where you could argue this is a sandwich spot that the Rangers are in here. For Washington, they're coming off a loss to Florida, so tough game, but they could be in a bounce-back spot. They are returning home, but they only went to New Jersey and Florida. It was a quick 2-game road trip, so I don't really see this being a complete road trip return spot or anything like that. And I think they're going to show up again because the Rangers just embarrassed them 3 games ago for Washington in this same venue, in their own place. So this game is Washington or pass for me. It looks like Washington flipped from plus 136 to minus 135. I don't think that's right. I think that's just, I think that's a screw up. That's a glitch in pregame, I think. But Washington is a minus 135 favorite right now. That line is right around where I expected it. 53% of tickets and cash on the Rangers. Public maybe slightly leaning towards the Rangers in this one, just based off of recency. But I think it's Washington money line in that game if you're going to play the game. You like Ducks. I almost said Dicks. You like the Ducks, the Devils, and Dallas. Triple D's. Oh, God. That's triple D isn't a thing, right? It just goes from double D to right to F, I think. I don't know. I'm a boob expert, but I'm not really a bra expert because I prefer them without the bra. So, all right. Nashville at Vegas. Nashville, I mean, I don't know what to say about Nashville. I mean, they started winning some games recently. They just won in Utah. Now they're coming out of elevation to play at Vegas. Sure, they're going to show up for a game against Vegas. Will that be enough to beat a team that's better than them like Vegas? I don't know. Vegas is coming off losing in a big game, but they lost pretty ugly to Minnesota. And I did say that was going to be a difficult spot because Vegas had taken Colorado into a shootout, and they probably should have beaten Colorado. So that took a lot out of Vegas. Vegas took that loss, pretty ugly loss to Minnesota. I think you could argue this is going to be a bounce back for Vegas here because they want to try to even up the homestand before they go back out on the road. I would lean towards Vegas in this one. The money is disagreeing with me on this one, though. Vegas is down from minus 210 to minus 179. Maybe you get a money line price that's decent enough that you can just play the money line of Vegas. But I would also, I could see splitting it, doing one of those split bets where you make your own -1 puck line in this one. 72% of tickets on Vegas, 51% of the cash on Nashville, though. So the money is not agreeing with me on that one. As far as the Ducks, they're playing the Lightning. I do think, I agree with Jeffrey on the Ducks in this one. Tampa Bay, they're on a 4-game win streak. They beat Carolina to start the win streak. They did not suffer a sandwich spot against St. Louis. Then they beat Florida. Then they beat Montreal in a shootout. Now they have a couple of days off, so they're rested here. And they are starting a road trip, so that's kind of my hesitation with this, is that usually a team that starts a road trip, they're usually focused because they want to get the road trip off on the right foot. I don't exactly know how big they're going to consider that win over Montreal to be. I mean, Montreal's an okay team. They will have Vasilevsky back in net here because Johansson played in that last game against Montreal. So there are some things that I don't necessarily love about fading Tampa in this one. And this is not a late night game either. So biologically speaking, for their biological clock, it's not going to be that bad because it's at 4 p.m. Eastern. For Anaheim, they've been on a slide, man. They've lost 3 games in a row, so I do think it is a bounce-back spot for them, staying at home, coming off that loss to San Jose. So I'll lightly agree with the Ducks here. It should be Dostal back in net here after Mrazek played in the last game. Mrazek, however you pronounce his name. I'll slightly agree. The money is actually disagreeing with the Ducks on this one. I lean Ducks slightly, but it's not a strong opinion from me. Tampa up from minus 135 to minus 145 on the money line. 65% of the cash on them. 66% of the tickets on Anaheim, though. So take from all that what you want to. Stamkos, he's 1 goal away from 600. Yeah, but that's going to mean he's overvalued. Like, if you want, like, a Stamkos prop or whatever, if people know that, they're going to be playing, like, Stamkos to score, a goal in the game or whatever. Like, he's going to be overvalued in the market because of that, because everybody wants to see him do it, you know what I mean? So I would not play a Stamkos prop like that. And I don't think it factors into the game handicap that much. Thank you, Kyle. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's autism. I mean, I'm looking at all the stuff that I have in front of me, too, and I'm just going, I'm talking about what I'm looking at as I see it, although I did already look at all these games earlier. Minnesota at San Jose. Minnesota coming off that walloping of Vegas. They could be in a letdown spot here, man. I don't know how much focus they're going to have against the Sharks after they just beat Winnipeg with Hellebuyck back on the road in overtime. Then they beat Vegas in Vegas. they got bigger games up next, I would say Anaheim and then the Kings. I mean, not that those are huge games, but those games might draw more of your focus than San Jose. So I lean to San Jose in this one. I think this is one of the better hockey opinions of the day, although San Jose is returning home from a road trip, but it was only a 2-game road trip. They took them to Vancouver, though, and Anaheim. They won both games on the road trip. I believe we had them as a winner against Vancouver on the show, and yes, they are coming off a win at Anaheim, which is a big win. They are technically returning home from a road trip where I talk about how a lot of teams that return home from road trips can be distracted, but again, they were home right before going out on the road on Saturday, so because they were home for the holidays. No place like home for the holidays. So it wasn't a long road trip from them, so I still lean to San Jose slightly here. Minnesota's definitely the public side. 77% of the tickets on them, only 73% of the cash, and they've gone up a little bit on the money line from minus 170 to minus 172, but you're getting a decent dog price on San Jose. I would do one of those things where you make your own -1 puck line on that one if I was going to play it. Winnipeg at Detroit. Winnipeg, they're on a huge slide, man. Even though they have Hellebuck back, they've only won 1 game with him back, and he's played every single game. They've had 3 overtime losses over that span, though, and a couple of their other losses were to Colorado and Edmonton, so I think Winnipeg might be better than they look right now, man. So maybe there is some value playing them. Yeah, they just took that loss to Edmonton, but now they're starting a road trip. Usually that you can take that as being like a reset. Like starting a road trip is generally a positive, like kind of regardless of what happened, unless you're coming off a monumental win or something like that. But either if you're winning, like it'll like continue your momentum, or if you're losing, it'll be like a break from that momentum. So I think it's a positive for Winnipeg. I think they're going to show up in this game against Detroit. Detroit is coming off an overtime win over Toronto. Decent win. I mean, maybe they consider that to be a fairly big win because it's one of those original 6 matchups. They got this Winnipeg team that really has been struggling, and they do play Pittsburgh next. Pittsburgh's got a decent record on the season, and they're starting to play all right again here, so this would be Winnipeg or pass for me in this game. It looks like the money does agree with me on this one. Detroit down from minus 130 to minus 114 on the money line. 52% of tickets, 72% of the cash on the Winnipeg side. So the real money looks like it is taking Winnipeg and taking them as an underdog. So yeah, money line Winnipeg would be my opinion on that one. Devils at Columbus. Devils did just get shut out yesterday. That was yesterday, though, I believe. So they're on a back-to-back. So I don't love the back-to-back scenario with travel from Toronto to Columbus. But yes, they did get shut out yesterday. So a lot of times you do want to back a team that just got shut out in the previous game. So that was an ugly loss for the Devils for sure. So I could see this being a bounce-back spot. They did have some rest before that game. They will have Allen back in net in this one, so you will get a rested goaltender in this one at the very least. But I don't necessarily want to back the Devils on a back-to-back here, though. Columbus, they're on a 3-game win streak. They did just beat Ottawa pretty easily. They're coming back home from that. It was a single-game road trip, though, but they are playing a 3rd game in 4 days with travel between the 2 games. So I'll slightly agree with the Devils in this one, but again, I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on it. Columbus is a public side, 80% of the tickets, 82% of the cash. The public wants nothing to do with New Jersey, but they haven't had Hughes back for that long either, so they're kind of getting back into the swing of things. So maybe New Jersey's a little bit of an undervalued commodity right now. I don't think that 2% percentage difference on the cash is really that meaningful there. I think you're fading the public if you're taking the Devils here. I don't really disagree with it, but yeah, you got to support the team. That's right. I don't have that. Dude, I need to clip that. I don't have that exact line. I just have the one that I always play, and then I have this one.
Will you sit down? Hey, man, I'm just trying to support the team.
Will you sit down? You're disturbing everybody. Sit down.
Oh, yeah, because you're a Rangers fan, and you know I'm messing with their heads.
Oh, yeah, he did say got to support the team, or trying to support the team in that one, but he says got to support the team when Elaine is complaining about his face painting in the first place or whatever. He says it multiple times then, Putty. one of the best characters on TV, man. David Putty, Patrick Warburton, also the voice of Joe in Family Guy. And he's done some other things that are pretty funny. Austin Matthews, yeah, he is back. Austin Matthews getting in shape for the Olympics. Yeah, I will be rooting against Canada in the Olympics. And I don't know, are they doing the Four Nations thing again this year instead of the All-Star thing? I mean, that was a good idea because it got a lot of publicity. So we'll see about that. But yeah, Toronto's not playing well for sure. Although they did just shut out New Jersey. Buffalo at Dallas. I agree with Jeffrey on this one as well. I agree with Dallas on this one. I think this one is stronger than the other ones, but you're going to have to jump in front of a train here with Buffalo. Buffalo's won like 9 games in a row or whatever. But I still don't think they're that good. They just beat St. Louis. Now they're going to Dallas. I mean, Dallas is going to be a monster favorite in this game. The odds makers are still telling you they're not really totally buying Buffalo here. I'm not either. They're on a hot streak right now. I think it will end here. I think Dallas will win this game. But if you're going to play Dallas, you basically are going to need to lay a puck line price here and need them to win by margin. But they have a lot of rest here, man. They only played 1 game out of the break, and that was a game where I think I leaned to Chicago. And did I give it out as a play? I don't remember. But Chicago... I think we faded Chicago off of that game, I think is what we did, because Chicago was in a huge letdown off of that. But yeah, Chicago caught Dallas, beat them in a shootout. Really ugly loss for Dallas, and they haven't played since then, since Saturday. So they do have their revenge game against Chicago tomorrow, though. So I don't know if you factor like that quick revenge motivation in. They're definitely gonna want to go into Chicago and beat their ass. So I worry about that a little bit, that maybe that's a look ahead. But other than that, they should be up for this game because that was a pretty ugly loss. They're staying at home. They're rested. But, you know, that look ahead to tomorrow does worry me a little bit. And the money is completely disagreeing with Dallas here. Dallas is actually less of a favorite than I thought they would be. I thought they would be like minus 200. So I don't know, man. I'm still not buying Buffalo. The odds makers are giving them a little bit of credit here, though. Dallas is down from minus 175 to minus 155. 65% of tickets on Dallas, 72% of the cash on Buffalo. That market read really, really worries me about Dallas here. If I have a really strong opinion on a situation that counters, that goes against the market, I will still do it usually. But in this case, yeah, I mean, I'm not getting involved in this game at all. My initial read on this was I agree with Dallas. You can get actually a pretty cheap price on this probably. Money line, we're split the money line and puck line here, but that market read has me really, really concerned about it. I don't want to deal with it. An Olympic break. Are you sure it's not the Four Nations? Or is it really the Olympics? Are the Olympics happening right now? Winter Olympics? Maybe they are. I don't know. I guess because the Winter Olympics, whenever they have to happen during the hockey season. So I guess there has to be a break. I don't know. That's weird. I don't remember handicapping hockey through a Winter Olympic break, but I must have. The Blue Jackets beat the Devils on December 1st. Yeah, so it's like a quick, sort of adjustment spot maybe for the Devils as well. I don't know. I don't. Maybe it's a slight factor. I don't know. When it's something that happened a month ago, I don't put as much weight into it. I put more weight into it if it was more recent. But revenge definitely gets overvalued by like recreational bettors and stuff like that. Bork made the national team. Like, you mean like right now he did? What is he, like 60 years old? Bork is my man though. Bork, kid. He was on the Bruins. Chicago is definitely well known for shootouts. That is a good joke, Charles. We could use that one on Twitter there. Yeah, the Olympics are in February. Yes, correct. That is when they are. I just forgot that they were this year, 2026. Happy New Year, everyone. St. Louis at Colorado. Got to try to get all this stuff done. And we'll be done before noon, though. There isn't that much NBA today. St. Louis, they just lost to Buffalo. Could be a bounce-back spot for them. I mean, they're going to focus on Colorado. It's just a matter of are they going to be able to do it? Because Colorado's way better than they are. It's a single game road trip where they do have to go into elevation here. Colorado's just on another roll here. They've won 8 games in a row. What else is new? They had a nice bounce back off of that Vegas loss. They handily beat the Kings here. You could argue they're going to have a look ahead to Carolina, Florida, Tampa Bay, all upcoming here, but that run of games doesn't start until Saturday, so I don't know. Will they overlook St. Louis in this game? I don't know. It's possible, but I don't really want to bank on it, although Colorado is a public side, 89% of the tickets, 96% of the cash on them. They're down from minus 345 to minus 325 on the money line. You could get a huge puck line price on St. Louis if you really want it. Maybe a slight lean that way, but I don't really have much of an opinion at all here. Chris Pronger was talking shit on SiriusXM. Pronger is kind of an ass. All right, and then we have Philadelphia at Calgary. This actually might be one of my better opinions in hockey today. I don't know, man. Philadelphia did just beat Vancouver yesterday. They're on a back-to-back. They're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. The win over Vancouver isn't that big, but they're probably going to have Urson in net again here, and they have Edmonton next on Saturday. So that is a look ahead, I think. I think they might overlook this Calgary team. It's just not really that good, even though Calgary just beat my Bruins despite having beaten Edmonton in the previous game. I'm pissed about that, but Calgary's just staying at home. They don't really have that much to look forward to, so this game for me, it's Calgary or pass. This is maybe one of the best of the hockey leans today. If I was going to play any game, it actually probably would be this game. The money agrees with this one. Philadelphia, 65% of the tickets on them, 74% of the cash on the Flames. I'm surprised Jeffrey doesn't like the Flames in this one because he likes the Flames, the Flamers. It's because they're going against Philly. That's why. Because Philly is his city, so they're going against Philly. And Calgary might not have Wolf in net. Vladar, there's nothing to be said about revenge. No, absolutely not. I'll go up against you again in this one. The money is all over Calgary. This is a horrible spot for Philadelphia. The revenge is almost meaningless in a game like this. They don't give a shit about Calgary. No way. Absolutely not. I think there's almost no revenge motive here. I completely disagree. No stock in that at all. Did they play at all this year? They did. Philadelphia did lose at home to Calgary. That was way back on November 2nd. Dude, people put way too much weight into shit like that. The situation is horrible for Philadelphia. Again, I already pointed out all the reasons to fade them in this game, including that the market also agrees with me on that. This is definitely a spot where it's Calgary or you don't play the game. Calgary, Vladar's also not playing. Like I said, he played yesterday. Erston is going to be in net tonight. So what the fuck are you talking about? It's a back-to-back. They're not playing Vladar in 2 games in a row. So it'll be Erston in net. He sucks. Calgary is the right side in that game. Boston at Edmonton. My Bruins better fucking do something, man. They've lost 6 games in a row. I am not happy about it. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. 6 losses in a row, including an overtime loss with Swayman in net. He wasn't bad, though. He wasn't the reason they lost. The offense didn't do shit against Calgary. Bruins, they're offensively challenged. They're not a deep team either, but they got to give you something, man. They did lose at home to Edmonton back in mid-December. Maybe they'll zigzag from that and have some adjustments to make. I think I do have to lean to the Bruins in this game, though, because I just don't know that Edmonton is going to really pay much attention to them. Edmonton just beat Winnipeg, decent win on the road. They beat Hellebuck since he's back. They do have a team that has a better record up next in Philadelphia. They already beat Boston on the road recently. So, yeah, for me, it's Boston or pass here. It's not a strong opinion, though. But 59% of tickets, 87% of the cash on Boston. Edmonton is down from minus 205 to minus 190 on the money line there. So the money is agreeing with Boston here. That would be the way I would do it, like make your own +1 puck line or anything. Dude, you should like Calgary in that game anyway, regardless of who's in net there. Like, the spot pretty much screams Calgary in that game. The goaltender revenge, whatever you want to call it, you can't weigh that heavily. The situation is just really, really bad for Philadelphia in that game. All right, there's a lot of NBA here. Going to try to get through it. Golden State at Charlotte. Afternoon NBA as well. This is at 1 p.m. Eastern. Great game that we get to start off the NBA slate on NBA TV. Yeah, everybody really wants to watch, an ancient Golden State team against the Charlotte Hornets. Golden State just beat Brooklyn. They are playing a third game in 4 days, though, all in different cities, so that's not easy. And could be a look ahead because they got the Oklahoma City Thunder coming up next on Friday. So I don't think it's a great spot for Golden State, even though they're not really in a letdown spot here. But the look ahead may be something. Charlotte just lost to Milwaukee, who does have Giannis back now. Charlotte is in a better rest spot because they didn't play prior to that since Friday. They're staying at home. They're going to want to split this 2-game homestand here after losing that first game. Likely they'll show up for Golden State. So for me, Charlotte is the lead in that game. Warriors have 53% of tickets and 65% of the cash right now. They're 7-point favorite here. I don't agree with that cash percentage there. I would take the Hornets plus the points or leave the game alone in that one. Jeffrey agrees with the Hornets. You like Pacers, Suns, Pelicans. You're going to love what I have to say about the Pelicans. Minnesota at Atlanta. Minnesota, let's see here. Minnesota, they're coming off beating Chicago by 35 points on the road. They might be feeling a little bit high off of that. That was a nice bounce back win off of that horrible loss to Brooklyn, which was kind of explainable because they had a huge game against Denver, and they had games against actually OKC and the Knicks and Denver in 3 of the prior 4 games. So Brooklyn caught them at a really good time. I think I did not give out a play on that. I wish I did. I was going to say I think I gave out a play on that. I didn't, but that was, I think, my strongest opinion in the NBA on Saturday, but I didn't give it out as a play, so fuck me, I guess. Minnesota, they're on the road here. They're going to Atlanta. They might overlook Atlanta, man. Atlanta hasn't been playing well. They got Miami up next. That might be a little bit of a bigger game for them. So I think it's Hawks or pass in this one. Not a strong opinion from me. Hawks just lost in Oklahoma City by double digits, but obviously that was expected. The Hawks played pretty well against the Knicks in the game prior to that. However, they do have the Knicks on deck, but I don't know. I just don't really see them overlooking Minnesota here, though. It is a weird 1-game homestand, though, before they go back out on the road, but they're only returning from a 1-game road trip, so it's not really like they have anything to do, like, home-wise back at home. The money is all over the Hawks here. The T-Wolves are up from 3.5 to 5.5 here. 54% of the tickets on the T-Wolves, 83% of the cash on the Hawks. The money is on the Hawks in this one. I'll agree with it, but I don't have a strong opinion on that. The Flames are the only team not afraid to fight the Flyers. Yeah, back when the Flames actually had balls. The Flames, I think, might have been one of the last Canadian teams to win the Stanley Cup, too. Saab gave out a play on what? Is he on Calgary? What are we talking? Where's Saab at? I haven't seen him in the chat for a while. Garrett, burner? You mean you're... what do you mean? Is your money being burned? You mean you're losing, or you mean you're on a heater and you're winning? Orlando at Indiana. Jeffrey likes the Pacers in this game. Orlando is coming off beating Denver, and then they went up to Toronto, and they only lost by 1. Although Toronto hasn't been that great of a home team, but I'll probably slightly agree with the Pacers here, I guess. I mean, Orlando, those are 2 fairly big games for them. They're traveling back from Toronto down to Indiana. They got the Bulls on deck. I mean, maybe they pay more attention to the Bulls than this really struggling Indiana team that doesn't have Halliburton here. Indiana's just on this massive skid. They've lost how many games in a row is this? 9 games in a row, so you're going to have to jump in front of that train. They are returning home from a road trip, although it was only a 2-game road trip where they went to Miami and Houston. That worries me a little bit. They played okay against Houston, only losing by 7, but this game wasn't close. down the stretch. Like Indiana made it look more cosmetic at the end. They were losing by double digits, and I think Houston just kind of let up a little bit at the end. However, Indiana does have San Antonio on deck. I don't know if they're going to be looking ahead or not. Probably when you're losing, you can't really overlook anybody. And again, this road trip return doesn't worry me that much because it was only a 2-game road trip. So I don't think they're really going to fall into that like distraction spot. I don't love the game, but I'll agree with the Pacers slightly here. Magic have 69% of tickets, 60% of the cash. They're a 4-point favorite. So yeah, I'll slightly agree with that one. You're on a heater? Hell yeah, that's right. At least not sitting on a heater that will burn you. The NBA is your best sport. Dude, the NBA has been my best sport over the entire time that I've been doing this. I've won, well, over the last 3 years that I've been tracking on Action Network, I've won twice as much in the NBA as any other sport, which is really saying something when there's more volume in sports like baseball and especially college basketball. So it's really crazy that the NBA is that good for me. But over my entire like career, basically, if you want to call it a career, NBA's been my best. Saab is hanging out with Jeff Bezos at the New Year's Eve party. Yeah, Jeffrey actually likes the Bulls. That's all right. Now we're talking. I was gonna be going head to head against Jeffrey in that one. But now you know what my play is in the NBA. Phoenix at Cleveland. This game, Jeffrey likes the Suns in this one. The Suns, they just beat Washington. They've won 3 easy games in a row against New Orleans and Washington. So they got some momentum coming into this game against Cleveland. One problem I might have with the Suns here is that people are going to look at this and think that it looks way too easy to take the points with Phoenix. You got an 18-16 Cleveland team against a 19-13 Phoenix team, yet Cleveland is a 6.5-point favorite. So this line kind of stinks. The odds makers are telling you the team with the worst record is actually the better team. Home court doesn't account for that much in the NBA. It's like at most 2 points, probably a little bit less. So the odds makers are telling you Cleveland's a better team. So that worries me a little bit. For Cleveland, though, they're coming up beating San Antonio, so I agree they're kind of in a letdown spot off of that. They got Denver on deck. I don't really know that they're going to overlook a team like Phoenix that's good, though. But Cleveland is also returning home from a road trip, and it was a tough road trip, man. They blew that game on Christmas at the Knicks. I don't know if they did their holiday stuff before Christmas or not, but they've been on the road between the 2 major holidays, man, and they had to go to Houston, then San Antonio. They got the huge win over San Antonio. Now they got Phoenix. I kind of like this one more than most. I agree with Phoenix in this one. Do I want to play it? I don't know. I still am kind of thrown off by that line, though. But, you don't want to make that your only, like, handicapping tool. But, again, it's one thing that might keep me off of the game, though. But I agree. I like Phoenix in this one as well. This road trip is going to be tough to return from probably, even though it was less than a week. It was during the holidays. They might have stuff to do back at home because they basically missed the holidays being on the road for it. The money is slightly coming in on the Cavs. They're up to a 6-point favorite. They have 64% of tickets, 69% of the cash. It's not that much of a cash disparity there, but I don't know. Just something to keep in mind in that one. I'll stay off of it, but I agree with the Suns in that one. My baseball plays, I didn't have a good baseball season this year, though. But it's been one of my better sports, like, long-term. But this year didn't go that well. Baseball is the only sport where I really give out a high amount of totals as well. It kind of just fits because it's the only sport that's going on. So I wind up having a similar volume just overall that way. Go Red Sox, baby. Red Sox, I like what they're doing. They're rebuilding right now. They're looking like they're on their way back up. You can't read your own notes, yes. Garrett, you're a Braves fan. Because I guess there's no Carolina baseball team, right? Cole, my former Tower Gang co-host, is also a Braves fan because they're closest to him, I guess. He's in Alabama. Although his rooting interests are all over the place. He's a Celtic fan, which I don't know why. And then he's a Duke fan, which I think there's some history there in his family. And he's a Broncos fan in the NFL. He's all over the map, dude. people are glazing Cleveland. No, they're not. Why would they be glazing Cleveland? I disagree with that. No, I think Cleveland's under the radar right now. I think they're way better than their record looks. That's what worries me about that. Yeah, they did their Kwanzaa stuff. The business person special, I don't know what that is exactly. It doesn't sound quite right. All right, New Orleans at Chicago. This is it. Best bet. I'm not going head-to-head with Jeffrey on this one. Because otherwise, I'd be really, really getting into this one. Because, yeah, I like the Bulls in this one a lot. The money agrees with me on this one. The Bulls flip from a 1-point dog, 1.5-point dog to a 1-point favorite. Now, I actually found a Bulls money line at -107. So if you find a cheap money line, you could do the money line. Otherwise, you could probably lay about 1 on this. You might have to lay 1.5. Again, if you find a money line that's like -115 or cheaper, that it's almost a no-brainer, I think, to just go money line on this thing. -107, absolute steal. Thanks to Bally Bets for that. Bulls have 59% of tickets, 92% of the cash on them. Money looks like it's all over the Bulls side in this one. Nobody wants the Bulls right now because they've been playing horribly. They're a really streaky team, though. I think they're actually playing better right now. People still don't want them. It's crazy that the Bulls are not public, even against the Pelicans. The public, they don't want to fade the Pelicans right now, even though they've lost 4 games in a row. But look at what they did in those games, man. I mean, they got blown out by Cleveland. Yeah, they played pretty tough against Phoenix in 2 games. And then look at what they did in their last game, man. They basically took the Knicks to the wire. This was a back-and-forth game. They almost beat the Knicks. And the Knicks are a team that'll play physical against you. They'll play defense against you. This game was right to the wire. It was a 1-point game in the final minute of the game. I think it was tied in the final minute of the game. Pelicans almost pulled off that huge win, big upset over the Knicks. Coming off of that, I think they're going to be in a major flat spot, and it's this weird one game where they have to travel to Chicago. I don't like it, man. They got Portland next, which isn't exactly a look ahead, but yeah, I think they're not going to have much left after that game against the Knicks. And for Chicago, they just got blown out by 35 points, man. And they're staying at home, and they've lost the last 2 games at home. I think they're going to be a pissed-off team right now, man. So people just don't want Chicago after getting annihilated, although Minnesota's a good team. They started beating winning teams finally. But losing by 35 at home is basically just... that's just something that's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's unacceptable, man. So, they're going to bounce back from that. They're going to be in a big-time focus spot here, I imagine. So, we're going to take the Bulls in this game. I'm all over it. Bulls is the best, probably the best play of the day, in my opinion, is the Chicago Bulls. Hornets, Tar Heels, Braves, and Panthers. Yeah, so mostly, the Carolina teams there. Correct. Cleveland, just played those 2 huge games. The Spurs game was a while ago, though. But they literally just played the Knicks in the last game. Bulls' 2 best players are hurt. All right, give me the Bulls. Don't care. Whatever. How long has Giddey been hurt? Whatever. Dude, I played the Bulls against Detroit in an injured player theory spot when Giddey was out, I believe, right? And that was a nice win for us that we had. When was that game? Or am I wrong about that? Maybe I played on Detroit. I don't fucking remember, dude. Actually, I think I played on Detroit because Giddey was coming back. But yeah, when was Giddey? When was the last time he played? Let me see. Oh, that's even better, baby. It's an injured player theory spot. Giddey got hurt in the game against Minnesota, so now we get extra value on the Bulls because their star player got hurt. I always talk about this. When a team's star player gets hurt, you get extra value on the team, and the team will usually really step up their game after that. So, yeah, Giddey got hurt in that Minnesota game. So, this is an injured player spot as well. Thank you, Garrett, for telling me that. Yes, even better. Double injured player spot. Although I care more about Giddey than everybody else because he's like their star player. So, yes, we're absolutely on the Bulls in this game. I think they're going to step it up. You're getting a ton of value on the Bulls because of the injuries as well. It's all Bulls in this game. And I mean, the Pelicans suck. I mean, come on, man. Let's be real about this. The Bulls are still the better team. I think, and the game is priced like the Bulls aren't the better team, basically because of the injuries. But I think even with those injuries, I think the Bulls are slightly better than the Pelicans. So I think there is value on that line there. I don't know much about Kobe White, though. Obviously, I know Giddey because he was on the Thunder, and he got all that shit for, dude, I think he basically got Birdman. He got Chris Anderson, where people are saying that Giddey's a pedophile and whatever. And I've made jokes about it, but it was a situation where he was like communicating with a woman online, I think, or maybe, I don't remember if it was in person or not, but the chick lied about her age, and it turned out that she was like, I don't know, like a month away from being 18 or something like that. So it was like he got honeypotted, basically, man. So, yeah, I mean, that shit is all kind of bullshit. For Chris Anderson, Birdman, it was even more ridiculous because, like, his career, his reputation got ruined, and what actually happened to him was he got catfished. He was communicating with this chick online, and the chick actually wound up on Catfish, the TV show, because she was a serial catfish out of Canada. She was like a teenager catfishing all these men, and she was on Catfish for catfishing some other dude, and she was the person who catfished Chris Anderson. And she told him that she was like this like 20-something-year-old woman that's who he thought he was talking to. Didn't realize that she was this psycho teenager who was a serial catfish. So Chris Anderson really gets a bad rap, man. He didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? Other than the fact that, yeah, I mean, he was stupid enough to get catfished, I guess. But other than that, Cleveland beat the Spurs 2 nights ago. Wait, what? Oh, yeah. Cleveland. Yes, correct. I was thinking of a different team. Yes, correct. Kobe White played for the Tar Heels. Yeah. I don't pay enough attention to the personnel, to be honest. Because Giddey, because he has the sexy long hair. He's white, and he gets a lot of women, I guess. Yeah, it's part of the Great Replacement. Yeah, he's going to be being replaced by black players in this game, probably. Let's not get this channel nuked. We got to finish the rest of these games here, man. We got bowl games to talk about that are starting in like an hour. I got to get this done. I think we'll be able to do it. The Knicks are playing San Antonio. So, yeah, the Knicks just came off that game against New Orleans where the Knicks didn't play well. The Knicks almost lost that game. I think they were looking ahead to San Antonio here, man. So this is a big game for both teams. I think the Knicks are in a bounce-back spot here. Now, I prefer San Antonio because it is that kind of quick revenge spot. And I think it is a revenge spot that matters because the Spurs lost to the Knicks in the NBA Cup final. Even though I don't put that much weight into the cup, but I think that does matter. Spurs did lose to Utah and Cleveland, so I think maybe even they were looking ahead to this game against the Knicks. Spurs will show up in this game. This might be a game where revenge does matter, or it's, zigzag. The Spurs will make the adjustments. This time they're at home, where they were not in that game. In the NBA Cup, that game was at Vegas, in Vegas. So I hesitate because the Knicks are obviously, I think, going to show up for this game as well because they're coming off of that ugly game against the Pelicans. But I think if you play the game, you play the Spurs or pass. That would be my opinion. The money agrees on that one. 54% of tickets, 79% of the cash on the Spurs. I'm surprised Jeffrey is not on this one because he weighs revenge too heavily. Spurs down from 2.5 to 2. In this game, but yeah, I agree with the Spurs in that one, but I don't love it. Denver at Toronto is going to be a weird one, man. Denver, they just had an embarrassing loss to Miami. They gave up 147 points to Miami. Got to think they're in some sort of bounce back spot here. They do have Cleveland on deck, but I think they're probably going to show up focused for this game. But Toronto's at home. Toronto is coming off 2 decent wins at home. They beat Golden State by double digits in overtime, which is weird. And then they beat Orlando. Pretty nice win for Toronto, although Toronto's actually not that good at home. Coming off 2 decent wins. They're only 10-7 at home, and Denver is 12-5 on the road. So the situational setup does have me leaning somewhat towards Denver here, bouncing back from an ugly loss. Toronto is, coming off those 2 decent wins. But people are going to look at this line and be like, what the hell is going on here? Because Toronto's now a 6.5-point favorite. So in a way, it almost looks too easy to take the Nuggets. 63% of tickets, 71% of the cash on Toronto. But obviously, the line is where it is because Jokic got hurt. So that means it is an injured player spot. Yes, correct. Jokic is out for 4 weeks. So I think people do know about that one because it was all over the sports media. So I talk about it all the time. Injured player spot. Usually you get value that first game that star player's hurt because the line over-adjusts. I know Jokic is basically carrying the Nuggets team right now, but first game without him in a spot that I think is decent for them as well to bounce back. I think they will show up for this. I think you're getting extra line value because Jokic is out. Usually the line does over-adjust a little bit. So I would take the points with Denver if I was going to play that game. I considered it. Because, the injured player theory spot is part of the arsenal, man. It's one of the tools in the toolbox. But this one, I just worry about it slightly. I don't know. I just, something about it just, doesn't feel as strong to me. But, I like Denver generally in that game, plus the points, though. And, again, the team usually shows up that first game because they know they have to play hard with that star player gone, especially because they're coming off a real ugly loss, too, which is the game where Jokic got hurt against the Heat. Washington and Milwaukee. Washington's coming off losing by double digits to Phoenix. Single road game here. Third game in 4 days, but the only one in a different city here. Weird single game road trip, though. And the Bucks, they're coming off beating Charlotte, but they are returning home from a road trip. So the Bucks, after Christmas, they got Giannis back as a Christmas gift. They went on the road, and I believe Giannis has only played 2 games since coming back, and they actually did win both of them. Even though I talk about the reverse injured player spot, it didn't happen in Milwaukee's game against Chicago, I don't believe. They won the game and probably covered because they were on the road. So Milwaukee, they are turning over from a road trip, though. And I don't love road trip return spots because I think you can overlook your opponent. They weren't gone for that long. It was less than a week. They only went to Memphis, Chicago, and Charlotte, but still could be a little bit distracted. Maybe they overlook Washington a little bit here. So slight lean for me to the Wizards in this one. The money agrees with that. Bucks down from 13 to 10.5. 78% of tickets on the Bucks. 69% of the cash on the Wizards, but I'm passing on it. And then we have Portland at Oklahoma City to finish it off, which Portland is one of the only teams to beat Oklahoma City this year. But Oklahoma City did get revenge on them already and beat them in Oklahoma City. And that's where this game is. Portland's playing a third game in 4 days. They beat Dallas, even though we faded them. We got a push on that game on the Mavericks. I thought Portland was in a bad spot after beating my Celtics, and then they had Oklahoma City up next. So I thought it was a sandwich spot. Unfortunately, it was a push. Now they are going to Oklahoma City, where they did lose the last time they were here. But OKC is just really good at home, man. And they're staying at home. They're playing a third game in 4 days. Debatably, maybe they'll look ahead to Golden State. I don't know. And then you got to look at what's going on with the injuries for Portland here. Jeremy Grant is still going to be out, so he's not back yet. Drew Holiday is not coming back yet either. It looked like their returns were imminent, but that's not going to be the case here. So Portland is still playing pretty short-handed here. So, I don't love it. The money is coming in on the Blazers for what it's worth. The Thunder, I think we're favored by about the same amount in this game when we laid the points with them against the Blazers the last time. We got a win on that one. 67% of tickets on the Thunder, 72% of the cash coming back on the Blazers. Thunder are a 16-point favorite here, but the Thunder aren't really in a terrible spot here, and they're really good at home. They win by an average of almost 20 points at home. So I kind of worry about it, man. So I'm staying away from it. I guess I slightly agree with the zigzag component of it towards taking the points with Portland, but I don't want anything to do with it. And then we got college football. We got bowls and we got playoffs here, man. I'm not going to get involved in the bowls today. They're kind of interesting. I am not. I'm going to be at my parents' house. There's a New Year's dinner going on at my parents' house. That's where I'm going to be. Where I was last week as well for the Christmas festivities. This is going to be a smaller thing, though. First game up is the ReliaQuest Bowl, which ReliaQuest is some AI bullshit. I don't know. I don't trust that company. This is number 23, Iowa, number 14, Vandy. The game is in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay. So Raymond James actually hosts multiple bowl games. This is Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium here. I guess you could make the argument the venue's a little bit better for Vandy because the travel is a little bit less for their fans to get there. But you know me, this game is pretty much defense versus offense. So I'm going to start leaning towards the defense. You got to look at the opt-outs. Iowa has all these potential opt-outs here, but Kirk Ferentz is basically saying his guys are going to all show up for the game. So to me, it does seem like the opt-outs are going to be minimal on the Iowa side. I think they're minimal on both sides. So I think this game is actually pretty much a straight handicap, unless we get news that Iowa players are opting out last minute here. So I don't know. Pay attention to the news here. But to me, it looks like both teams are showing up for this bowl game. Vandy, Pavia is listed as a potential opt-out. I doubt it. I think he's definitely going to play. Pavia, he went through all that. He went through that tirade, though, because he came in second in the Heisman voting, I think, or whatever it was. So Mendoza, I believe, won the Heisman, and Pavia was flipping out about it on social media. Pavia is out of his mind, man. Let's just put it that way. So I don't know if that Heisman snub, if you want to call it that. I think Mendoza rightfully got it, but if you think that the Heisman snub or whatever you want to call it is going to affect Pavia's mental state, maybe that's part of the handicap here as well. But I think the handicap kind of comes down to just handicapping this game straight, and it is Iowa's got the better defense. Vandy has the way better offense, and you know me, I like defense over offense. I think good defenses can beat good offenses, and I think it matters more when you have a spot like this where these teams have been off for a long time. And I think that hurts an offense like Vandy, a team that has a precision offense, a finesse offense. When you've been off for that long, it takes you a little while to get back into the swing of things. You know what I mean? So I could also see playing Iowa, first quarter, first half in this game as a small underdog, expecting that Vandy might start slow because they're going to be out of rhythm. Whereas for Iowa, they could just hit the ground running, pun intended, because a team like Iowa that runs the ball a lot and plays defense, they handle layoffs a lot better than that, man, because they don't have to worry about timing or whatever. They can just get right back out there and start grinding. You know what I mean? So the situation does set up a lot better for Iowa just in general. Earlier in this game, I think it does as well. You do have to worry about maybe Vandy being a little bit disappointed as well because, there was just kind of that outside shot of them making the playoffs. So I don't know if they legitimately thought they could make it down the stretch. But however, this was Vandy's best season maybe in program history, though. So I don't know how disappointed they really could be here. So I think they will probably still show up. They want to cap what was a really, really good season for the program with a decent win. They get to play a Big Ten team, so it's not like they're playing some cupcake here. So I think, to me, I do think they will consider it a reward. I think Iowa will as well. Iowa didn't really have any actual thoughts of making the playoff or anything like that either. Iowa faced a pretty difficult schedule as well. They played pretty well this year, man. So Iowa's defense showed up and played really well against Indiana, Oregon. Iowa's legit defensively, man. If they could hold those teams, I think they held both teams to below 20 points. And we had Iowa against Indiana in that game. We had Iowa plus the points, too. Iowa's defense is for real, man. And if Iowa's defense can slow down Indiana and Oregon, Vandy's offense isn't as good as those two offenses, I don't think. So I think Iowa can pretty much slow down any offense if they have the ability to do that. So, yeah, I like Iowa in this one. I think that's pretty much the handicap there. The money is agreeing with that. You could have gotten 5.5. If you want to get Iowa, you got to get at least 3.5. Get, the key number at the very least. But the late money looks like it is agreeing with Iowa here. 53% of the tickets on Vandy, 57% of the cash on Iowa. The public, they always love offense. They don't love defense, teams that play ugly offense. But Iowa, their passing offense has been a little bit better than in years past because Kirk Ferentz told his son that he couldn't be the offensive coordinator anymore. So Iowa, they've actually been able to throw the ball a little bit this year with Gronowski, and they're facing a weak Vandy defense here, so Iowa should be able to move the ball, I think, a bit against this defense. I wouldn't disagree with an under as well. I think this game is obviously a game where it's correlated, where if you think Iowa covers, probably it's a low-scoring game. Vandy covers, it's probably a high-scoring game. The total's all the way down to 46, though, so if you want the under, you missed out on that key number of 47. Money is coming in on the under. 52% of tickets on the over. 66% of the cash on the under. So that also kind of backs thinking that Iowa is the right side here, because it looks like the professional money is on Iowa and the under, and that all lines up to me. So it's not a play for me, just because I don't really see like a motivational factor that's good enough here. But I like Iowa to cover in that game. Especially, you better get at least 3.5 though. CBS at 2 p.m. We have the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, because it's great. Which I think it's been Tony the Tiger for quite a while, man. By the way, Tony the Tiger's voice was Thurl Ravenscroft did his voice, and he's the singer for "You're a Mean One," Mr. Grinch. That guy, same voice. Tony the Tiger. This is Arizona State and Duke. This is a game that I think has a lot of moving parts that makes it really difficult to handicap. It's in El Paso, Texas, so the location is probably favorable to Arizona State because they play in the Southwest, obviously, so I think it'll be easier for their fans to get to this game. Now, do you make the argument that Duke is disappointed at all? Because Duke won the ACC championship, but did not make the playoff. But I think going into that game, they had to have known they weren't going to make the playoff. I mean, that's, I think, why Duke played really loose in that game and beat Virginia, is because Virginia, all the pressure was on them, and that was my handicap in that game. I wish I played it. Virginia, because I was correct about Duke in that game, Virginia had all the pressure on them, and it was, we have to win to get in, whereas for Duke, it was even if we win, we're not going to get in. So I think Duke was playing with a chip on their shoulder. They're playing with a little bit of revenge or zigzag as well, playing loose, so Duke got that win. Now, will it be like a letdown spot of any kind? Basically, will Duke be excited to be in this bowl game? That is the question. I don't know. I mean, they get to face a Big 12 team. They're not really facing a cupcake here. So maybe they will show up for it. The money seems to indicate, or at least it was for a while, because Duke went up from a 1.5 to a 3-point favorite. Kind of indicated that maybe Duke is showing up for this game to some extent. But the late money seems to be coming back on taking the points with Arizona State. I would probably lean that way, 59% of tickets and 55% of the cash on Duke. Now, the problem with Duke is similar to the Vandy problem, which is that Duke is more of a precision offense. And again, with all that time off, even though they did play in the ACC championship, having that time off could hurt their offense, whereas Arizona State, they're a defensive team. They're the better defense getting points. And, just like Iowa, better defense getting points. I prefer that side usually. And I think Arizona State should be able to play better early in the game as well, just because the way that they play is more conducive to that. And they're going to have to run the ball more, because we know Arizona State's quarterback, Levitt, has been hurt for a while. He got hurt twice this season. And the last time he got hurt, he hasn't come back. So Arizona State, I believe their quarterback that filled in for him is going to play, which is, let me see here. What was his name? I can't remember his name. This stuff is all over the place here. Jeff Sims. He wasn't great, but he played some of Arizona State's games this year. And it looks like, I guess, Dillingham, Arizona State's coach, is saying he wants to get their freshman quarterback Dyer some reps in this game too, to get him some experience. I think that's okay, though, because Duke's defense is pretty bad. So I think Arizona State should be able to have some amount of offense in this game against that defense. So I'm okay with that. As far as the transfer portal, Arizona State has a bunch of guys in the transfer portal, but of course Levitt is already injured, so he's not going to play anyway. It doesn't matter. Some of these guys might play, and then we do have the actual opt-outs for Arizona State. There are some. One of them is an injured defensive back, though, but we do see some opt-outs on Arizona State on both sides, and then some potential opt-outs. It looks like some of these guys are still playing, though, in the game, even though it looks like they're going to head to the NFL draft. So Arizona State has some opt-outs. And Duke actually has fewer opt-outs. So that's what I was talking about, where to me, it seemed like Duke is going to pretty much show up in this game. And that includes Mensa, their quarterback, who I guess was considering entering the draft this year, but it looks like he is actually going to play in this game instead. So I think he is playing in this game. and he's going to return to Duke for another season. So as a redshirt junior, even though I think it's like his 5th year, because he was on Tulane before this year, whatever. So I think Duke has a more intact roster here, and that's kind of the issue that I have with it. I'll slightly lean to taking the points with Arizona State, but I really don't love it. Pavia out drinking all night. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, Tampa, maybe it's kind of a party city. I mean, because when you play for an inland team like Tennessee and you wind up at the beach, in a coastal area in Tampa, maybe you will be partying a little bit. I don't know. Nate, you got Nebraska. You're not going to like what I'm going to say about Nebraska, but you probably already know that. Although I don't have a play on that game. Yes, my parents' house. Again, yeah, I don't think I mentioned I would be there tonight, but yes, correct. My Twitter bitches are always online, baby. They're always around. I have so many of them. Some of them are always around. Mendoza, yeah, no brainer. Yeah, Pavia is just a crazy dude, man. He plays, dude. I mean, I kind of like him though, just because he's a small dude, and so am I. And he goes out there and just plays like basically just the effort that he puts in is what makes him good. You know what I mean? I said he's like a bulldog out there. He should be on a team whose mascot is the Bulldogs and not the gay Commodores. The Vanderbilt Commodores. Sounds way too, sounds way too robber baron. And I don't mean in a good way. Yeah, Duke lacrosse was a hoax, correct. I agree that Nebraska will lose that game in that bowl game. And I don't really like them to cover either. Money line with Arizona State, I really worry about it because they're going to have somewhat of a thin roster there. It seems like Duke is the more intact team there, which is basically why they're the favorite. I don't know. I worry about that. Michigan and Texas are playing in the Cheezit Citrus Bowl, which I think Cheezit used to sponsor a different bowl. This is in Orlando, Florida, so today is all good weather bowl games, man. Unless there's going to be rain or anything, but I don't know about that. But it's all at least not cold weather in these games. Of course, there's not going to be rain in the Sun Bowl, though. But the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl is number 18 Michigan, number 13 Texas. This game is an absolute mess to try to handicap, man. It's in Orlando, so the venue isn't really that beneficial to either team. Texas has more experience, especially on the quarterback side of things, because Arch Manning, whatever, even though he looks like ass, I assume he's playing in this game. He played a little bit last year. He's got a bit more experience than true freshman Bryce Underwood from Michigan, who was okay this year, but Michigan's really known for their defense, man, and that's really what both teams are known for. So this is a game where both teams are much better defensively than offensively, and you know what I like to say, when you get defenses, you tend to want to look towards lower scoring games and taking the points, and that's probably what I would do in this game. By the way, if you like Michigan, you're missing the boat here because Texas was 7.5, and now the key number is gone, and it's all the way down to 6. So it seems like the real money is coming in and fading Texas in this one. So I would try to find at least a 7 if you like Michigan here, man, because the public is on the Texas side, so maybe they'll help keep that line up as we get into the afternoon. 69% of tickets, 71% of the cash on Texas, but they're a public side. Total is up to 48, but I also don't really disagree with an under in this one. 51% of tickets on the under, 56% of the cash on the over, so the money's on the over, but when you're talking about two teams that focus on defense, I don't know. I see it being kind of an ugly game. I lean towards an under in this one. I don't really have an opinion on the total in the Duke game, by the way, where probably it's, again, if you like the under, you probably like Arizona State in that one. If you like the over, you probably like Duke. It is probably correlated, and the total dropped to 47.5 in that one. So some ugly low totals in these games today. 79% of tickets and 85% of the cash on the over in that game for what it's worth. But this game, there's a lot going on here, man, because my first instinct in this game was this might be a play for me on Michigan in this game because Texas has to be one of the most disappointed teams, right? Texas made the playoffs last year. They made the semifinals last year, I believe, and they were number 1 in the country. That was their ranking to start this season. So for them to not even make the playoff this year, that is a major disappointment. And in their last game, they had that huge win against Texas A&M. still didn't make the playoffs. So it's like, what do they really have to play for here? Even though, yes, I know they get a draw where they get to face a blue blood team here, a powerhouse team in Michigan. So maybe that motivates them. But I just don't know, man. In Texas, with how bad their offense has been, yeah, I don't like it. So initially I was like, Michigan might be a play for me on this bowl slate. Then all the Michigan stuff happened, where their head coach, Sherrod Moore, got fired from the team for impropriety, which, by the way, did happen to Ohio. As I mentioned, Ohio wound up winning their bowl game against UNLV. So even though Ohio had all those potential distractions with their coach being fired for sleeping with women on the staff or whatever, and drinking in his office with other staff members, Ohio played in that game. But you remember, I did talk about how Ohio did have a huge bowl win streak on the line there as well, so they showed up for that reason. Michigan doesn't have that, but it seems like Michigan is, for the most part, showing up for this bowl game, man. Like, their whole team pretty much traveled here, so even though their coach not only got fired for sleeping with an assistant, but he got arrested for breaking into her house, and she was, I believe, married. So he broke into their house to try to, like, steal evidence or something like that. So it's absolutely insane that in a matter of, like, a day or two, he got kicked out of the school, fired, and then he wound up in jail. It's just insane. But it seems like Michigan is rallying around their interim coach here, which is Biff something. Biff, ridiculous name. Biff, what's his name here? Let me see. Biff Poggi is the interim head coach here now for Michigan. Dude, you look at this guy. He's like this old, fat dude. And the picture that people put out of him, he's got like these horrible man boobs and stuff. And I'm like, really? This is the guy? But it seems like the team likes him. So it seems like the team is going to play for Biff here in this one. And like I said, I'm expecting most of Michigan to pretty much play. As you can see here, even though Poggi said he thought there were going to be opt-outs, this update here says everybody made the trip except for 3 players. So these 3 opt-outs, 2 defensive players and 1 offensive player from Michigan. Aside from those 3 guys, everybody's playing, it looks like, from Michigan here. So for me, it seems like Michigan is definitely the more motivated team here, though. And Texas has a lot of guys in the transfer portal. They have a somewhat decent amount of opt-outs here and a lot of opt-outs on defense. And that is the issue here. Texas, 7 of their top 11 defenders are missing this game because they're opting out, and, you know, some of them entering the NFL draft and whatever. So Texas, their strength is their defense, and that might be a problem, man, with all those guys opting out. So this game, Texas also oddly fired their defensive coordinator, and they're bringing in Will Muschamp, who I think used to be a Florida head coach. He's not there yet, though, so they're going to have some interim DC here. Why would Texas fire their defensive coordinator, though? I don't understand that. Like, after they beat Texas A&M, and Texas's defense was their saving grace this year. Their defense was really good. So I don't understand that at all. But to me, I actually think Michigan is the more intact team here, man. So I would take the points with Michigan if I was going to play that one. Even though I worry about the the distractions from the head coach scenario too still. But yeah. Some will be in Miami. Probably not. Miami's pretty far from Tampa. I don't think so. And Tampa has a huge strip club and prostitution scene. They're not going to go to Miami. I mean, dude, Miami is probably like a 6-hour drive from Tampa. There's no way they're going there. Yeah. Correct. Yes. Right. Well, yeah, he's he's not making his race look good. Let's just say that. Netanyahu is, with Trump being gay in Mar-a-Lago or whatever. And then we do have the final non-playoff bowl game here, which is the, by the way, the winning coach for the Cheezit. Dude, why doesn't the Cheezit Citrus Bowl, why don't they do something like the fucking Pop-Tart Bowl? Like, why doesn't the winning team get to bake an anthropomorphic Cheez-It and kill the Cheez-It and then eat a giant Cheez-It? Like, what's going on here? Why don't they get to do that? Anyway, then we have the 3:30 p.m. game, because all the games are in the afternoon to make way for the playoff game. Of course, that Michigan-Texas game is on ABC. I forgot to mention this next game is back on ESPN, Nebraska and Utah in the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. I don't know what that company is. This game is in the Raiders Stadium, Allegiant Stadium. So it's an NFL stadium here. First of all, I think Vegas is a better location for Utah because they're closer. So I think Utah, their fan base will travel. Utah's ranked 15th in the country. Utah, I mean, they kind of knew that they weren't going to make the Big 12 championship pretty early on. So I think Utah's not really going to be a disappointed team here. And for Utah, they're the type of team that can get out and play right away, like with a long layoff, because you know what Utah does. They play physical defense. They run the football a ton. So it's way better for a team like that to come off a long layoff and just hit the ground running. And it's worse for Nebraska because Nebraska had a really poor run defense this year, and Utah wants to run the football. So this smash-mouth rushing attack of Utah has a lot of advantages in this game. And it also means that if Utah is winning, they can actually extend the lead if their rushing attack is working. Whereas for Nebraska, you know Nebraska's already shorthanded because the Patrick Mahomes wannabe is being exactly like Patrick Mahomes and being injured. There you go. What's his name again? Dylan Raiola. He's not playing, so it will be TJ Lateef playing in this game for Nebraska, who he's looked okay. He had that one huge game where he got to play in L.A. He's from L.A. originally, I think, or that area. Had a huge homecoming, beating UCLA. But who has he played since he started playing, man? He beat UCLA, and then they got crushed by Penn State. And, what am I looking at? They got crushed by Penn State, and then they got crushed by Iowa to finish off the season. I didn't even remember that being the case. But, yeah, so Lateef, when he was facing those better defenses, he didn't look good. And guess what? Utah is a better defense as well. So Lateef might not be able to hold up against this defense, man. I think it's all a problem. There's a reason why Utah's a double-digit favorite here. Utah, it seemed like Dampier, their quarterback, he was potentially going to opt out, but it seems like he's playing. So Utah has kind of minimal opt-outs here. They have a few guys on the offensive and defensive lines that are opting out, but it looks like they're pretty much limited to 3 opt-outs here. Now, one thing to consider is Utah is losing Kyle Whittingham. He's not coaching this game, so he's been the coach at Utah for a long time, and he's been excellent. He's going to Michigan, which, by the way, I think Michigan's players, knowing that they have Whittingham coming in, he's not coaching that bowl, obviously, but knowing that they now have some stability on the horizon, I think Michigan, their players might want to play well because they know Whittingham's going to be watching the game, so they want to impress Whittingham. So that's something to consider there. So Whittingham is leaving Utah, but the defensive coordinator, Scally, who is also already known to be their head coach next year, he's taking over. So I think that's okay for Utah because he's obviously been good at their defensive play calling, and he's now the head coach, and he's going to stay there. So Utah has continuity here, man. They already know the guy. They like the guy. He's been really great at building up their defense, and he's going to be their head coach. So I think that's okay for Utah. He'll coach the bowl game, and again, they want to play well for him because he's going to be their coach next year too. So it's fine for Utah in this game for the most part. They're going to be mostly intact. Nebraska is actually the team with more opt-outs here. Nate is saying Raiola transferred out. Is that even true? I don't even know. That's not on the list here, but whatever. So Nebraska also fired their defensive coordinator. That was earlier this month, though. The San Diego State defensive coordinator is coming in next year. He was really good this year, but he's not there yet. They have an interim defensive coach. They also fired offensive and defensive line coaches. I mean, Nebraska is kind of a mess right now, man. They're also losing one of their best running backs, I think, in Johnson. He's going into the NFL draft, so he's not playing. To me, I think it's Utah or pass in this one. There are just too many advantages for Utah here. They're a 14-point favorite with juice, and the money is agreeing with the Utah side here. 65% of tickets, 69% of the cash. The total's up to 51. 60% of the tickets are on the over, but there is money on the under. 53% of the cash on the under. As far as the total is concerned, I don't have a great read on that, although Utah does like to play defense and, run the football. So if they're winning the game, it might be a lower scoring game, even though that means it might be more difficult for them to cover. But then again, like I said, if their rushing attack is doing well, they can pad the lead while they're ahead. So if I was going to play it, I would lay it with Utah in that one. Matt Rule, he's not good, man. I agree. Thank you, sir. Well, I haven't talked about the biggest game, the playoff game. Nebraska fired his shitty coach of an uncle. All right. We got to get to it, man.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
We have the first playoff game that is actually a bowl game that is in the Cotton Bowl, which is, Goodyear, I think is who sponsors this thing. Yeah, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, which is the college football quarterfinals. As we know, since the setup started last year, these quarterfinal and semifinal matchups hijack the New Year's Six Bowls. This is number 10 Miami and number 2 Ohio State in this one. It's an interesting game, man. Now, oddly enough, both teams are actually better defensively than offensively, and that makes sense for Ohio State. I mean, they have a freshman quarterback here in Sayin, so Miami does have an advantage as far as the quarterback experience. They got Carson Beck there, although remember, Beck didn't play for Georgia in the playoffs last year, so he has not played in these playoff scenarios because he was hurt last year. But he does have more experience in that he's played more years than Sayin, of course. So Beck is the more experienced quarterback. But I think Ohio State is just the more balanced team. And believe it or not, I think Ohio State is the better offense and the better defense. And it's going to show because you'll see what the line is in this game in a minute. They're the better team in the game, man. Ohio State is the number 1 power-rated team in the country, so I still consider them to be the best team. But both teams do have better defenses than offenses, so this could be a low-scoring game here. I wouldn't disagree with an under here, but the totals cross through that key number of 41 down to 40, juice to the over. If you can find a 41, it makes sense, I think, with that key number there. Other than that, I would probably lay off of the total. 58% of tickets on the over, 61% of the cash on the under in this one. Ohio State is up to a 9.5-point favorite, 62% of the tickets on them, but only 52% of the cash. But I disagree with that cash disparity there. I like Ohio State in this game, even though I think it might be a low-scoring game. I would lean towards Ohio State covering the number, though. I know Miami has one advantage, and that is that they played last week. And you remember, or a week and a half ago or whatever, they played in the playoffs already. And you know I always talk about this in football and in basketball. In the football playoffs, we saw this happen last year. The team that gets a game under their belt is at an advantage because they have momentum coming into the next game, and some of the pressure is off of them because they got the nerves out of the way. They already played a game, you know what I mean? And last year, all 4 teams that had byes lost in the first round. But remember, a couple of those teams that had byes were big underdogs, and they shouldn't have even been there. Boise State and Arizona State. And then I think the other 2 were I can't even remember, actually. The other 2 were, I think, close, like toss-up matchups. This is not one of those. Like, yes, Ohio State has had a long layoff, so there is an advantage for Miami, the fact that they played already. But Miami pulled off a big road upset, man. So Miami is coming off a really, really big, like, tough physical performance. So in a way, the layoff for Ohio State might actually help them in a way because they lost the Big Ten championship the last time we saw them, and they didn't look that good. So they might be using the time off to fix what went wrong in that game against Indiana. You know what I mean? So kind of like what I said about Alabama when they came into their game against against Oklahoma, Alabama had lost ugly in the SEC championship, right? So having that time off, I think actually might help fix some things. So I don't think it's that much of a negative for Ohio State in this game. Now, Miami does have one advantage, which is that they get to stay in Texas, although I don't know if they did. Miami might have gone back to Florida in between the two, but they did just play in Texas, and now they're back. They just played in College Station, and now they're coming back and playing in Arlington, which isn't that far away. But, venue-wise, it is what it is. Like, I don't think it's that much of an advantage there. Both teams should play fine in a warm weather environment. I mean, it's whatever. It's when a warm weather team goes into the cold weather is what you really have to worry about. But that really was only something that might have had an impact last week. Now we're into the bowls that are all good weather bowls, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think that's basically it for the handicap there. I lean to Ohio State in that game. I would lay the points. All right. You found out that Matt Rule is a joke in Carolina. College football playoffs. That is tonight. Yes. Super Saiyan. He's not that super. He's been okay. He hasn't been as good as Simpson on Alabama. Miami's defense is good. That's correct. I disagree with taking the points, though. To me, I think the public is going to think that it looks like too many points. So I don't really get these percentages that are showing right now. I actually don't think that's going to be the case. I think the public saw Ohio State lose to Indiana, which makes them look vulnerable. The public just saw Miami beat Texas A&M. I think they're going to think this is too many points. I think Miami's a square side in this game. I don't know why the percentages look like they do, but I like Ohio State in that game. I think Ohio State wins by double digits. Obviously, if you like Ohio State, you got to lay 9.5. Like, don't let it get to 10. But I think it is going to hit the 10. So if you do like Miami, you'll get the key number of 10 there probably. That's going to do it. Once again, my only play is 2 hours for 2 plays, and one of them is Gardner-Webb plus the points in college basketball. That is as bad as it gets, man. And then we do have the Bulls, which I like quite a bit. The Bulls, money line or lay a small spread on that one. That's going to do it. Got to get my bowl entries finalized here, although there aren't really that many games left to shift around in confidence and whatever. Learn to Toad on Twitter. I got subscriptions over there now. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe, give me good comments here. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Listen on audio. That helps me out as well. Give me good reviews over there. Apple, Spotify. Check out my Uke channel, Covered in Uke on YouTube. That's up. Patreon.com/LearnToToad for some bonus Uke stuff there. And the Loser Cast, where we had another live show last night that was just me and Leighton for about half of it, and then Tyler joined us. We had some fun. We nominated 6 losers, 2 each last night, and some of them might not be what you would expect, or maybe people that you've never even heard of before in some cases. And I did go sports with one of them, though. So you can check that out as well. We had some fun again last night. That's going to do it. Thank you, sir. Have a good day, everybody. I'll be back. Probably tomorrow morning will be the next, because New Year's, I'm expecting there won't be that many college basketball games. So probably tomorrow we got to talk about the New Year's Day is going to be, I think, all college football playoffs. I think maybe 1 or 2 other bowls, but we'll talk about them tomorrow. I think I have a play in one of them upcoming, and that's going to do it. Peace.